This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Yeah, Frank here, he's got his own billiard room.
Yes, it's the
Billiard room.
Come on already. We call it the
place to be.
Yes, the place to be. The place to be.
Then I shall be there.
Now, it's time. Live and in living color.
The Grandy Man can.
Ugh. Time to play the game!
No, you left me satisfied. It's fine.
That's what she said.
Why do I want this? I want to make bank, bro. I want to get ass. I want to drive a Range Rover.
Place to Be Nation, Scott Criscola and Justin Rosero. This is the Place to Be Podcast.
Very nice, Mr. Criscola. Oh, I'm sorry, Dennis.
Japanese band Oral Vampire produced a song called The Repo Man and used footage.
Oral Vampire, huh?
Or Aural. A-U-R-A-L. What kind of show is this?
Sounds like some Twilight porn in Michael Vincent's collection there.
Oz went on to star in American Pie, of course. Bismarck. No, wasn't Bismarck? Wasn't his name? Bismarck. No, who's the other guy? I'm getting
Bismarck. Yeah, he dressed as North Dakota.
There's only one place where the big butts play, and that is in my extra queen size bed. Well, it just happens. What can you do?
Let's talk the things.
I think they might hit a shock wall.
Is that the Shockmaster's wall?
Yeah, I like big dick myself. I was just curious. PTB Nation, let me know what
Here's our opener.
To do worse than Josh Richard.
But you can't stay too long. It aches in every bone. I'll die alone, but not for pleasure. I see my heart explode. It's been eroded by the weather here. If you want me, hold me back from this.
Place to Be Nation! Welcome back to the great episode of the one and only Place to Be Podcast, the mothership here at placetobenation.com. Your co-host, Justin, coming at you live here on this Sunday evening, Week 17 in the NFL. A very sad one, inconsequential for my PIC, Scott Criscolo, heartbreaking for myself.
Yes, it is. Good evening, JR. Hello, Place to Be Nation. Welcome to 2016, bitches.
That's right, our first episode of our, fifth calendar year? 6, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, sixth calendar year that we've been recording.
Exactly. Episode 391 of this indeed mothership. Yes, my day ended about as predictable as I thought it would. And Cowboys with their worst record since Jimmy Johnson's first season. But I think we have the fourth pick. Fourth? Third or fourth?
Something like that.
You, however, a punch in the gut today.
Yeah, I'm not ready to talk about it.
No, I don't want to. But you talk about predictability. How many times in the last 10 years have the Browns fired their coach and GM in the same day?
Oh, God.
This is like the fourth time, I think.
Well, no, I read something since, hang on, I have it right here. Since 2007, there's been no other firings in the North. Since Brian Billick was fired at the end of 2007, the Browns have fired 5 head coaches, including Pettin, since that time. No, all the other AFC North coaches have been solid. It's been Harbaugh, Marvin Lewis, and Tomlin. And in that time period, the Browns have gone through 5 coaches. And I'm not even I think they're doing the right thing, firing Patton, because I think he's a dope. And he was a big problem with the Jets as far as leaks and running his mouth. And then the same thing in Buffalo. And even now with the Browns, a lot of the word out of there was he was tossing all his assistants under the bus and all this other crap. And
right.
I mean, you can't keep rebuilding and restarting. They need to make this one count. And now they're already talking about Doug Marrone, which is stupid. But
I have a prediction. So when you finish your point,
yeah, I mean, it's actually on the surface, it's not an awful job. Josh Gordon's back next year. They have the number 2 pick. They have a bunch of cap room. So it's it's not the worst job on the surface. But when you look at all the issues with the ownership and everything else, you kind of say, ugh, I mean, who is really going to take that job besides either, to me, a guy like a Marrone that kind of maybe on the outer edges looking for a gig, kind of like Del Rio in Oakland, kind of a they don't care what kind of gig it is because whatever, they've been around forever, they just want another job, or a really unproven assistant. The type of job it's not is for either a guy that's looking for win now, like a Sean Payton, or a guy like a Josh McDaniels, who this may be his last shot to make it count. Why go to the Browns? So to me, it's more of a job for a retread or a really young assistant that just wants a job, like Adam Gase or something like that.
Okay. I have an option E.
Nobody.
You had 4 options. Yeah, exactly, yes. Played on Madden.
Yes.
If his team wins on January 11th, the next coach of the Cleveland Browns will be Nick Saban.
No, I don't think he goes there. I think he'll be in Indy.
I thought Indy for a while. In fact, that was my theory the whole time. However, he does have history in Cleveland.
Yeah,
because he was one of Belichick's assistants.
Yeah, but don't forget. But don't forget, a guy like that's already bombed once. He's not going to want to come and bomb again. He's going to go to Indy, and the good thing about Indy is you look at that division. There's more talent there than there has been over the last couple of years. But you have Andrew Luck. If you can quickly rebuild the lines, the O line and the D line, you're in decent shape to win, at least make the playoffs probably almost every year by winning that division, which is soft. I mean, Houston has no quarterback. Jacksonville has no defense. And Tennessee
has nothing, period.
Well, I mean, they got a quarterback, but they got a lot of growing to do, too.
Yeah.
I think my predictions, just off the cuff, would be Chip Kelly to Tennessee, Sean Payton to Philly, and Saban to Indy. Those are my predictions. I think Cleveland gets a retread. I think Miami I don't know what they're going to do, but those would be my predictions off the cuff. But now the same, the Niners, they fired Tom Sula because they want Chip Kelly. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. But you would think, Tennessee is probably going to push hard, and you know his love affair with Mariota. So
yeah. Well, I've said all along, I've agreed with you the whole time that I think if Saban's a different guy than he was when he was with the Dolphins. He was a good coach, but he wasn't that. Now he's pretty much the Bill Belichick of college. He's a steely, cold-faced cyborg now who has no emotion and just goes out there and kicks you in the balls for 4 quarters. That's not the kind of guy he was when he was with the Dolphins.
But I just don't think he's going to want to go to a team, and maybe this invalidates Indy too, because Indy's owner's nuts too. I just feel like he's not going to want to go to a team that has...
Indy's owner needs to dry out.
Right. Well, I don't think he's going to want to go somewhere where the owner is like heavily involved. I think he's going to want full control. And the only thing I think that would sway him... See, to me, Indy and Cleveland are both in the same bucket when you look at that. Like, they both have batshit owners.
Right.
But the difference is you get a franchise, like, all-pro quarterback.
Right.
All set up for you in Indy. I mean, that's so much of the key of the league is just having a quarterback, regardless of everything else. I mean, if they can protect him, that if you have a great quarterback, that you're 2/3 of the way there. So, to me, that's a desirable job for him because it's probably the best one open. Now, I mean, you could look at the Saints. Would he stay kind of in the South? I mean, they have a lot of rebuilding to do. But you got Drew Brees there, so it'll be interesting to see where they go. Mr. D'Amato, who is here today, told me the big rumors that the Giants gig will be, what the hell's that guy's name? What's their offensive coordinator's name? I'm drawing a blank. They got the mustache.
Yeah, I don't remember his name either.
The innovative, the guy who's supposed to be super innovative or whatever.
Yeah, I have a feeling. I agree with you. I half agree with you on Sean Payton. I think he will go to the NFC East, but I don't think he'll go to the Eagles. I have a feeling he'll kick the Giants' tires because I think he's kind of always wanted that job.
No, Ben McAdoo. That's his name. No, that's the strong rumor is that he's the guy.
Really?
Yeah.
I think Sean. I think Sean Payton would bang his head against the wall in Philly, but
I don't know. I mean,
he's had so long to be accustomed to a good quarterback who's just there and gets the job done every time, and now you got Sam Bradford.
No, that's true.
So we'll see. I don't know. It's curious, but I have said all along that I thought Saban was going to go to the Colts. The only reason I changed my mind was just seeing this news, realizing he did have a little history in Cleveland. But I agree with you. Both jobs, are real shitbags. To be quite honest with you, the only difference is you've got a possible bona fide All-Pro Super Bowl winning quarterback in Indy if he has the right things around him, and you've got fucking nothing in Cleveland.
Yeah. I mean, to me, Indy's the big job. To me, that's the hot one that has the best system, only because of the crappy division and the All-Pro quarterback. Even though they need a decent amount of talent too, but I think. Tennessee's not as bad a job as it looks. Like, they have some pieces there that they can grow. You have a quarterback who's already showed that he can hang in the NFL, and he's only got a year under his belt, so that's a QB you can grow with. If I'm Tennessee, if I can't get Chip Kelly, I probably look for more of like a young, maybe like a Gay, someone that can grow with Mariota, like versus getting a retread there. But
right. And I'll just say this one thing. I know you don't want to get into it, but I'll just say one thing as an objective fan. I don't think Todd Bowles has anything to be ashamed of. I think they had a great season. Fine, Injuries, you had running backs. Ivory would get hurt, and then Powell would get hurt, and then you had a couple stinkers, but I think the defense was fantastic, and I think there is
the
something.
Defense let them down a bit today, but there's clearly pieces there. the only issue with them is this was such a miss because they had an easy schedule. Everything set them up. They got a few breaks along the way. And if you kind of look at the AFC picture, like they would have had a decent shot. I mean, they would have been probably playing at Houston or even at Cincy. Both, I think winnable situations if Dalton's not back, and even if he is, my feelings there. So I think at Cincy is like a winnable game. And now all of a sudden you're talking about maybe going to the Pats in round 2, who they've beaten recently. So I don't know. This is just a waste of chance. And, Revis and these guys, Marshall, they're only going to be a year older next year now. So sure, I think they have a good future because of how they're set up with Bowles and with McCagnon, who I think did a great job as GM.
Right.
But I also think this is a strong opportunity because their schedule is going to be tougher next year. They might not get some of the same breaks. I don't know if Ryan Fitzpatrick is really a 30-touchdown quarterback. So, there's a lot of question marks, and they have a lot of holes. They need to really rebuild the offensive line that is really falling apart late in the year and hurt them. They have to make a decision on Cromartie, who's getting big money next year. Do they want to bring him back? Ivory, who's going to be due a payday. What do they do with Wilkerson, who broke his leg today? Do they franchise him and roll with him? I mean, it's hard to let him walk. So there's a lot of question marks there for them from a personnel point of view. But no. I mean, overall, it was a success. But the sad thing is, you have to recalibrate your expectations as the year goes on. So if you told me when the year started they'd be 10-6, I wouldn't, been thrilled. But as the year went on and they were 4-1 and then 10-5 and you look at it, how things lined up. If you told me they had a shot to win in Buffalo to go to the playoffs, people thought that may be a possibility, but they thought it would be the other way around. That Rex and Buffalo may be trying to play for the playoffs in that week. But to know that they didn't make it with that opportunity is disappointing.
Well, if you have this silver lining, and then we'll actually move on to what the point of our show is this evening. You could, of course, listen to all this great stuff on the Sports Evolution this week. For a silver lining for Jets fans, if there's one team, and even Senior, with his Brady Feety pajamas acknowledges this, if there's one team that Pats fans are scared shitless of, it's the Steelers. So
yeah, but they kind of luck out, actually. So Denver ended up getting the 1 seed, and Pittsburgh is a 6. So if Pitt knocks off Cincy, they have to go to Denver now. And then Pats get the winner of Houston-KC, which, I think they would sign up for in a heartbeat. Right. And then they'd be at Denver or home for Pittsburgh in the championship, and I think they would sign up for that too. I think Pittsburgh does frighten them, but I think it's a more frightening game in that round 2 if you have to beat them to still get to Denver. So they'll either get Cincy at home or Houston or KC. So they can't play Pittsburgh to the AFC title game. And I think if you tell them they have a shot against Pittsburgh at home, with likely a lot of their injured pieces back probably by that week, I think they would take that. So they kind of caught a break in some ways by not getting home field. The only way it would screw them is if Denver makes the AFC title game and they have to go out there, which has not been an easy place for them to win.
Right, exactly. And just to confirm, Dallas has the 4th pick. Tennessee has 1, Cleveland 2, San Diego 3, Dallas 4, and the Jags 5.
Who cares?
Well, I care, but I don't know who it'll be. I don't want Derrick Henry before all the Cowboy fans think we need a running back. I'm not drafting running backs in the first 4 picks.
No,
so we'll see.
Definitely not.
No, definitely not. All right.
Trade with the Jets. Geno,
I would take
backup. You need a real quality backup.
Yeah,
for Romo. I think Geno would be optimal.
That's right, because they're going to dip his collarbone in fucking adamantium. this
it's
offseason,
kind of fitting
that
like,
so.
IK and Akali got hurt today. It was kind of the bookend to the Jets' year.
All right. Why don't we dive into why we are here? Speaking of franchises, we have a pay-per-view this evening, a vault involving 2 franchise guys in our main event. Franchise. Because tonight, inside the big steel box, it is Legend versus Icon. SummerSlam 2005. This was a show that...
Hey, what is going on here?
I'm glad you're awake.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been
sleeping.
a while.
Sleeping on the boxes.
Sleeping during the Christmas holiday, yes. What would be funny about this, about doing this one tonight, JR, is the main event is a feud that we haven't even sniffed leading up to the show. It's like totally out of left field. And then we have some feuds finishing, some beginning, and some trends, at least in terms of fan favorites and such, changing on this evening. And then it really kicks in our next fall. But anyway, let's dive in. August 21st, 2005. Live from the MCI Center in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Do you remember, JR, our last pay-per-view foray in this building?
I'm going to say it was Survivor Series. No, Backlash 2000.
You are correct. You're going to say Survivor Series 95.
Yes.
Yes. No. Backlash 2000. Last time we were here on pay-per-view. So good 5.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Our crowd, pretty awesome. 18,156.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic buy rate, 1.34. That's a great SummerSlam buy rate.
Yep, not a surprise with the match on top.
Exactly. And your announcers, all of them at ringside, no longer in the catacombs of the Red Brand. Good old JR Jim Ross, Jerry the King Lawler for the first time since, I don't know, Vengeance 02, probably.
Yeah,
something like that, at ringside. And, of course, the voices of the Blue Brand, Michael Cole and Taz, and, of course, your Spanish announcers. We've been here. Is this the new building? Or is this still the Cap Center redone? Or is this the new building?
MCI Center. I don't know.
Is it I don't know either.
Oh, we can find out.
You'll have to look, because obviously the old Cap Center became the MCI Center, and now, of course, the new building, the Verizon Center, is a different building. So I'm trying.
This was built in 97, ended in 06, so this is the one that we've been in before.
So we've been in before. So we were here at Backlash 2000. Okay. Give us our Suten report, Jer.
All right. So sponsored by
WWE.com? No.
Close, though. It's one of their
Shop.com.
WWE Day of Reckoning 2, released on August 29th for Nintendo GameCube. Okay. Tagline, Hogan versus Michaels for the first time. Do you remember the theme songs? We'll be hearing them both tonight here on the show.
Yes. What do you call it? Seether? Not Seether.
Well, Seether was the band, yeah.
Seether, what the hell is the song? Remedy.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, our man Fat Joe and Nelly with, what was it actually? Get Poppin'. Yes.
Yep.
Get it poppin'. They played the shit out of that song. That was like the 2005 version of My Way.
Yeah, it was that. Both songs they really beat into the ground.
Yeah.
Current champions. WWE champion still John Cena. World champion Batista. Intercontinental champion Carlito. U.S. champion Orlando Jordan. Tag team champions Hurricane and Rosie. Your WWE tag team champions Animal and Heidenreich. Women's champion Trish Stratus. Due to injury, Trish has not defended her title since WrestleMania 21. That's 139 days without a defense for Trish. Cruiserweight champion Nunzio is our only new champion. He defeated Paul London on the A2 Velocity from Harbor Yard in Fairfield.
In Bridgeport. Yes.
Oh, Bridgeport. Wrestlers passed away. We have, let's see. 1, 2, 3. Looks like 3 passed away. I don't think you're going to guess any of them. So
no, I do remember a couple, actually.
Okay.
One of them I remember very well for some reason. He was an indie guy. Cage?
Chris Cash.
Chris Cash.
CZW tag team champion.
He died in like a motorcycle accident or something. I remember that.
How the hell do you remember that?
I don't know, because I remember that story for some reason that they made a big deal out of it that he was stupid for driving on a motorcycle or something like that. I don't know. Some old guy. But John Tolos? Not John Tolos.
Chris Tolos.
Chris Tolos.
Died of cancer. I cannot believe you're getting these. This is like Rotella pronouncing everything correctly during the Christmas show.
During the Christmas show. That's all I remember.
And then Moondog King passed away as well.
Oh, one of the Moondogs. Damn it.
So he had been in the hospital since December of the year before, being in a traffic incident. Suffered 2 broken bones in his neck. He was on life support. Pinched nerve in his spinal cord. He was only 56. He passed away. Chris Cash, 23. Tolo, 75. One release, Frankie Kazarian released on 8/15. Kaz found out the promotion wasn't going to revamp the Cruiserweight division, so he took off. He was 4-0 on TV. I think he was mainly a Velocity guy, from what I remember.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Raw, we've seen 683 episodes, 314 of SmackDown, 363 for Heat, 165 for Velocity. We've had 61 editions of Impact. International Heat, we saw Shelton Benjamin defeat Chase Thompson. Victoria defeated Stacy Keibler. Viscera defeated Snitsky. Curran White over Rosie, and we're going to talk a lot about these different guys the next month. Chris Masters over the Hurricane on SummerSlam's televised Heat. TNA had Sacrifice on 8/14 in Orlando. Chris Sabin, Shark Boy, and Sonjay Dutt defeated the Diamonds in the Rough. Alex Shelley over Shocker. Abyss over Lance Hoyt. 3 Life Crew over Kip James and Monty Brown. Chris Daniels over Austin Aries. Jerry Lynn over Sean Waltman. Team Canada over America's Most Wanted and the Naturals. Samoa Joe won the first ever Super X Cup over AJ Styles. And Rhino became the new #1 contender to the NWA title, defeating Raven in a tag team match. We also had Jeff Jarrett on Rhino's team and Sabu on Raven's team. So it was a busy month in Ring of Honor. Redemption, James Gibson won the ROH title for became the 6th ROH champion. 4-corner match with Punk, Daniels, and Samoa Joe. Punk lost his final Ring of Honor match on 8/13 to Colt Cabana. Also, the final match for Matt Hardy, which we'll talk about. Mick Foley made a surprise appearance on 8:20. Nigel McGuinness then became the 6th pure champion, defeating Samoa Joe on 8:21. So there are your Sutton notes.
Yes, and we were at that Ring of Honor show a couple weeks before this show. And we saw Summer Punk. He beat Gibson. Yep. We saw Joe. Joe beat, who did he fight? Jimmy Rave, I think, for the pure title. And a bunch of other stuff. I just remember that building was like 900 degrees, and I should have bought that Eddie figure. That was really cool. Okay. How about Heat? Speaking of hot places.
Heat. Chris Masters defeated Hurricane, like we mentioned. So there you go.
And that's it. And another fun fact, and I'm saying this because we'll not be hearing any of his music tonight. This is only the 3rd SummerSlam in his career, in his active career, that Triple H missed since joining WWE. He was not at 1996, probably part of him getting punished. And, of course, he missed SummerSlam 01, recovering from the Pop Quad. So, okay.
Papa Quad,
which he'd do again. All right, let's dive in. Let's open the show, JR, with our first title match of the evening.
Okay.
The United States Championship is on the line, and a rematch from the Great American Bash. Your champion, the Big O, Orlando Jordan, taking on, once again, the Rabid Wolverine, Chris Benoit. They had a nice match at the Bash. Anything happened since then?
On 7/28, Chris Benoit forced Orlando Jordan to tap out with a tag team match. On 8/18 SmackDown, Jordan cost Benoit a match against Randy Orton. Rematch with full expectations of a Benoit win, of course, after he put over Jordan at the Bash. I don't think anyone expected him to lose again here.
No.
Very focused Benoit during the build-up, just like how angry he was and how he's looking for revenge. OJ still feels a bit bland. He's still trying to find that personality or gimmick, and you kind of see, even with his title, still seems stuck in neutral. Gets a cheap shot during the ref break. Benoit bounces out of the corner, hits a German, and gets the crossface for the very, 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 very quick win in 25 seconds. That completely pays off the Bash and sets things straight. Benoit gets on top of the U.S. division. I thought it was a good choice to help kind of reestablish things after Jordan's kind of stunk it up now for a while. Really fun moment to open the show, the celebration. I don't think anyone wanted to see another 15-minute match with these guys. So I think this was cool, even though we kind of get robbed of a quality Benoit match in some ways. In others, it was a great moment for him to break through and kind of be, reestablish himself as a badass. They really played it off like Jordan got the fluke at the Bash, and Benoit was not going to let that happen this time around. He was focused, and he wipes him out.
There's something to say. This is the only way it had to be done. After him having a battle, through a 14-minute match at the Bash, which wasn't horrendous, you're thinking they're not going to have a long match again. And obviously Benoit is the more bankable character. Do what he does best. Kind of do what you did against Billy Gunn at Armageddon 2000. Just go in and just cream him, and he did. So
and
that's
Jordan was completely expendable. I mean, if he wasn't over by this point, he is what he is. There's no point in having him continue to be your second-level champion anymore. So I think it was a wise decision.
Yes, I agree. And that's that. So Chris Benoit, your new United States champion. He did have the belt in WCW. So that's not the first time he is a U.S. champion, but it is his first U.S. title in WWE, I believe. Yes. So there you go. First match, first title change of the evening. Next up, JR. Reality. What is it? Reality meets art, or art mimics reality, whatever that stupid cliche is. Yes, Art probably would have known it too.
Well, that art, right? Reality meets art?
Yeah, reality meets art.
Okay.
Who's the guy with the blonde hair and that bitch? Okay. That trollop. Dive in, JR. How do we get to this point? It's a long road.
All right, so Sutton sets us up here, going back in the day, and then we'll come forward a little bit with the build specifically here. So one day in April this past year, 2005, Matt receives a phone call from Edge, then wife, saying she found a cell phone number on Edge's cell bill with a North Carolina area code. Edge's wife called the number, and a female voice answered the phone and sounded just like Lita. She gave Matt the number, decided to call the number for himself. He heard a phone going off in Lita's bag. Well, it's the same while Lita was asleep. Matt went to the other phone, checked its call log and messages. Matt woke up Lita, confronting her with the second phone. Lita admitted she was having an affair with Edge, and it broke Matt Hardy's heart. Hardy kicked her out of his North Carolina home. Lita said she was going to stay with her mother in Atlanta, but really was down in Florida staying with Edge. WWE management advised Matt it would not be a good idea to turn up to Raw and confront Edge. However, Matt did confront Lita during an edition of Bite This, questioning the former women's champion about her affair, and of course that would lead to Matt's eventual termination, and not good things for him. So he went off and kind of became an underground cult hero for the way he was dismissed. Everyone thought he got really hosed, that he did nothing wrong, and except kind of, getting cuckolded, and here he is, he gets fired for getting in the way of a main event heel. So really kind of shady the way everything happened. There was a massive online petition to bring him back. Shortly after his release, he posted 2 videos on the web showcasing a new character he'd been working on called the Angelic Diablo, discussing scars becoming symbols. On 7-Eleven, and one of the best kept secrets on live wrestling history, Matt Hardy returned, assaulting Edge backstage, and then again at ringside, being dragged off by security, yelling about Ring of Honor. And Johnny Ace, of course, was John Laurinaitis, the head of talent relations, along the way. It was shot really well and made just wild enough that many actually wondered if it was a shoot. And when you really look at everything that Hardy had done to this point, it was believable that he could have done this on his own, the way it was. Now, when they showed him backstage, that kind of triggered it a little bit more. Or I'm sorry, rather when he came out again. I mean, if they caught up to him backstage, he probably doesn't escape security and make it to ringside. So, I mean, once you can maybe buy it to work, but I mean, a shoot. By the second time, it's starting to look like a bit of a work.
Right.
But still, if you wanted to believe, there was enough there to make it feel real. Adding to the mystery was the fact that Hardy wrestled Christopher Daniels on 7/16 in Woodbridge, which we were at. Yep. Before the match, he cut a promo ripping Dirty and John Laurinaitis, keeping the whole charade going. After 2 more weeks of random attacks, it was obviously revealed to be a work. Vince McMahon marched to the ring on 8/1, announced that Hardy was rehired and would be taking on Edge at SummerSlam. Hardy made his way out, cut a good promo, outlining what had happened and issuing a stern warning to Edge that he was coming for revenge. On 8/8, Hardy defeated Snitsky in a match, but Edge struck and a big brawl broke out. So what are your thoughts on how Hardy handled things while he was away? And do you think if it wasn't for the fans pushing him and Hardy kind of pushing the issue with the way he was acting, like, do you think they ever really had intentions to bring him back and do this feud, or do you think it got too big that they were kind of forced to capitalize on it?
Question 1. I think Matt was fine with it. I think, let me rephrase that. I wasn't fine with it. I think he handled it well. He didn't say much about WWE until later on in August when I think we kind of knew the jig was up. So I think he was fine how he handled it in that aspect. They weren't going to get rid of Lita. They certainly weren't going to get rid of Edge.
Right.
So he was the scapegoat. It sucked. It sucked for
Well,
him.
It's funny that they told him not to show up and confront Edge, because in later years, a pretty high-profile case, and actually I guess we'll talk about it probably soon enough, they were mad because they thought the guy was a pussy for not confronting when he was cheated on by another wrestler and his girlfriend.
Right.
And he got he got embarrassed as a pussy, and they didn't push him as a result because they thought he was soft. But now here, Matt's getting chastised and eventually fired for showing up and kind of running his mouth. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, I think he was fine. Going to Ring of Honor was fine. If you remember, though, JR, when we were at that show, the crowd did kind of already get a feeling, because the fans were pretty much pro Daniels that night when they were expecting to be pro Matt, but I think the jig was up that he was going to WWE.
Right.
So the whole thing was probably no longer a work, a shoot.
Definitely by that point, no.
Yeah. Question 2. I think WWE understood that they weren't ready to have Edge pull the trigger on Money in the Bank yet. So, as much as I don't know if they were like, oh, wait, we got to get Matt Hardy back, I don't think they were ridiculously excited. I think they probably thought, you know what? This gives Edge something to do for the next few months, and then we could do something with Matt on the line. He's a serviceable guy.
I don't think there was any chance. I think there was 0 chance he would be back if it wasn't for the fans pushing and for the heat getting so loud. Remember, during Edge matches, a lot of Matt Hardy chants and everything. Yep. You know what I mean? Like,
Heyman said it at One Night Stand.
Right. If none of that happened and no one gave a shit and they were just like, whatever, I don't think they bring him back. I don't think they cared enough about him. I think they only brought him back to capitalize on the fact that there was so much heat that they could make a feud out of it. And the way the feud goes, I think it exclaims that they don't really give a shit about Matt Hardy. I think they saw it as a way to keep building Edge's heat by
That's what I
this.
think. Yeah.
Right, but I don't think he would have been back. Like, if the crowds weren't chanting his name and he wasn't off an ROH shooting on it and if he just went away and was like, whatever, I hate you all, I'm leaving, and the crowd didn't care enough about him to chant crap at Edge, I don't think there's any chance he comes back. Like, I don't think he was in their plans until he forced the issue over the summer, and they were suddenly like, okay, well, now we're getting to the point where we're dumb if we ignore this.
Okay, all right, yeah. I mean, I just think that if the crowd, yeah, you're probably right, because I don't think they gave enough of a shit. I think they always liked his brother.
Right, I don't
more.
think it was in their plan to say, okay, we're going to fire you, but you'll be back in the summer to feud with this guy. Like, I don't think they wanted him gone because they didn't want any issues. Like, they just wanted Edge to be fine. They turned Lita, and they're like, okay, you guys, you're a slut, you're a douche, and you're heels, and that's it. Like, I think that's all they wanted to do. Like, I don't think they ever had any intent to make this a feud.
Right.
And I think Edge, or Hardy, rather, forced their hand. So, Hardy returns after the fan pressure and reactions became too strong. Cool way to introduce Hardy, like we talked about. Brings this year-long war full circle from the absurd to rooting in thick realism. So, I mean, we started, very weird with the Kane stuff over a year ago now. It was, what, Vengeance 04 when they had their first match? Kane and Matt Hardy?
Yes.
Right.
Vengeance
so
04.
now we're well over a year into this whole thing, and it's taken weird twists and turns, and now we're here. Matt's the clear, easy-to-back face. Edge and Lita very clear and strong heels. And really, we have those alignments for the first time since this whole weird quadrangle love affair has been going on. Edge has great swagger. Lita looking super hot. Starts immediately with a brawler on ringside. You can see the stiff shots being laid in. Hardy all over Edge until Edge pelts him with a headbutt. Legit real fight feel here with the referee having no control. Edge spears Matt to the floor off the apron. Hardy makes a comeback until Edge drops him face first on the ring post with a nasty bump. Knocks him silly. Edge pummels Hardy as he's gushing blood. Edge is laying in heavy punches and kicks. The match starts to get gruesome as Hardy is out on his feet and collapses, and Edge just kicks him in the face. And the referee finally stops the match, and that shocked so many people because Hardy basically got squashed. I mean, this is his big return. He's supposed to be coming for revenge, and he just takes a shit kicking, and the ref, calls the match.
I know.
And it seemed like odd booking on the surface, but Matt was kind of setting himself up for a bigger comeback story. And online later, he was defending it, saying, it's chapter 1, like, chill out. More's coming. And because people were ripping it so much, saying, why did you come back? You sold yourself out to come get, let Edge kick your ass. Just ripping him for kind of going back on his principles, showing up, and then getting his ass kicked. Maybe a double DQ brawl could have been a little bit better, but at the end of the day, Edge's stock is the one that's higher, and they let him be dominant. And it really does set up the continuation of the feud and the rematch well enough. So I get why they did it, but at the time, it was like, shit. And I remember, we watched this at Mike's, and I remember us thinking for a little bit that maybe Matt was really knocked out the way they went with it. Because Matt sold
I remember
really
us talking about that, yeah.
So what did you think of the way they did this all?
I mean, it did definitely come out of left field, but I liked it. I thought it was a good, Matt went in headstrong, and they needed to get some heat. You didn't want Edge to win you didn't want Matt to win at all yet. So I had no issues with the result of Edge winning. I was stunned that really much, Matt got just punched in the face over and over again for 4 minutes. That was a little unusual. But I had no issues with it because I knew that they were going to stretch this thing out a couple months. I mean, again, I think the whole premise of Matt coming back was to give Edge something to do because I knew they weren't ready to pull the trigger on the Money in the Bank yet. So, and we didn't really need to see any more Kane. So I think this was a good excuse to bring Matt back without really having to care about him.
You think it was weird that the first two matches were so quick? It's almost like, okay, we had a lot of hype for both these things. Benoit's big win and Hardy Edge, and now they're both over, 5 minutes total. They're both out of the way.
I was surprised, but then I realized as we move on, and particularly to our next match, a lot of our later matches I knew were going to be pretty long. I mean, I knew we were going to have at least one 20-minute, maybe two 20-minute matches. So I anticipated that some of these were going to be quickies because I think a lot more time was going to go into the other matches. So I wasn't totally surprised.
And one thing we'll talk about too as we go along, I kind of was thinking about this today. We're looking at the card again. The absurd star power they had on this card alone. I mean, every match has like a big name guy in it or multiple big name guys. It's pretty amazing when you look at. I'm not going to get into semantics of where they are now, but if you look at then versus now. 10 years later, SummerSlam to SummerSlam. And this year's is a pretty full card, but when you look at the card here, just the names up and down the card is like, holy crap. And at the time, many people hated the products. They were like, 05 sucks compared to what. And then you look now, just how star power that they had for these combined shows.
And that's what Triple H hurt.
Right, yeah.
It's not even he's not even missed, you know what I'm saying? So I agree with you 100%, And 05 was a funky year because the Hall of Fame was just, and we'll get into this more when we get to the main event. The Hall of Fame was relatively fresh. So they weren't quite sure what to do with it in terms of do we have guys play? Do you have guys wrestle, while they're in the hall or that kind of thing? It's weird, but it just made the card loaded because the main event, when we talk about it, came out of left field. We were anticipating probably one of the 2 title matches being the main event before what happened, and we'll obviously get to that. So Edge wins with referee stoppage. I can't remember the last time that happened. And our first 2 matches are a combined 5 minutes. Very interesting. Next up, a very long feud that also reaches a big conclusion. And once again, if there's any gimmick or storyline that has gotten just as absurd as the Lita Kane Matt Hardy debacle was, this comes slightly close. Give us the lowdown.
On 7/28, Eddie Guerrero broke his promise from the Great American Bash stipulation and spilled the secret to the world. I lied. He interrupted a Rey Mysterio promo taking place in the ring alongside his son Dominic. Eddie revealed that Dominic was actually his own son, fathered with another woman and adopted by Rey and his wife because they could not have one of their own. The news sent Dominic scurrying to the crowd with Rey following behind him. A week later, Eddie appeared with his attorney and told Rey that he had custody papers in hand and demanded Rey bring Dominic to SmackDown the next week. On 8/11, Eddie came out with a social worker, demanded that Rey hand his son over. Rey, his wife, and Dominic stood in the ring with Dominic clinging to his mother's leg. Rey began taunting Eddie about never defeating him in a match, pushing Eddie over the edge. And Rey then proposed a match at SummerSlam with the winner getting custody of his son. And for some reason, the social worker thought this was a fine idea, approved the stipulation, took custody of Dominic, and claimed he would remain with her until SummerSlam. The next week, Eddie announced that the pay-per-view bout would be a ladder match. And we didn't mention, but before the previous match, Vicky Guerrero, who's Eddie's wife, was shown trying to convince Eddie to drop everything and just admit that this is all about him just wanting to beat and hurt Rey and nothing really to do with his feelings for Dominic.
Right.
So this feud started in February, has been really good. We've had some great matches, some great moments. Eddie's heel turn, the beatdown on the different pay-per-views, the matches have all been great. And now we get here. And, the story is that these guys are writing this themselves. And that it was doing bonkers numbers on SmackDown. Because it's basically become a telenovela. So a large Hispanic portion of the audience is tuning into SmackDown, which was free on over-the-air TV, doing big numbers. They were into this. But when you look at it, it's so absurd. And you hate to say it because both guys are so beloved and the match has been great and they're writing it and you want to support them because they're writing it. It's not being foisted upon them by foist, is that the correct use of that word? I don't know. Forced upon them. Hoisted upon them. I'm going to just combine those two words.
Hoist them over their heads.
Hoisted on top of them by the writers or whoever, creative team. It was actually their call. So, but when you look at it, it's like, who would really allow this to happen? What kind of social worker would say, okay, sure, here's Eddie claiming you're his father. Rey, you have legal custody. How about we have a wrestling match for this kid's future? It just made no sense. It just made no sense at all. Instead of actually fighting for the custody, it should have been more like, hey, Eddie, if you beat me, we can go to court. And if I beat you, you get to drop it. Versus, if Eddie wins, he legitimately takes custody of Dominic. Could you imagine if, whatever, Dr. G gets really mad at you and because you can't beat him, you say that, his daughter's your daughter, and it's so stupid. Okay, we're going to fight in the backyard. Whoever wins gets the custody of the daughter. It's so absurd. It just makes no sense.
Or you have a Big Al match,
or you and Will fight over me, It's one of those things. It's very...
Or then you'll do what's his name? Not Shelton. You'll do what his name just totally went out of my head. The other guy in the World's Greatest Tag.
Right, yeah. Charlie
Yeah,
Haas.
you just leave both of us anyway. So
I'll take them both. Maybe I'll do the Tommy Dreamer. But the whole thing is ridiculous. Right. And I feel like if it wasn't Ray and Eddie, it would be looked at like really down, even worse, you know. But because it's them, it's kind of like, oh, all right, you know, and it's doing such big numbers with, you know, like we said, I mean, this is pure soap opera stuff. It's absurd. You know, I expect Stefano to come out and, you know, Hope and whatever the hell, what was the guy's name? Bo.
Wow,
Bo and
I'm
Hope.
impressed.
Bo and Hope fighting over their kid, and, you know, Stefano comes out and screws them over. So, I mean, I expect something, this is what it feels like. This is pure soap opera.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was a little weird. But I think my take on the gimmick, and then I'll let you get into your analysis. I think because the main event was so huge, and we had 2 big title matches, and I think this match didn't want to get lost in the shuffle. We've already had them wrestle 3 times on pay-per-view this year with no gimmick. If you just have them wrestle again with no gimmick, this match get lost in the shuffle. And clearly, in terms of work rate, this is probably the best match on paper going in.
Right.
So I think this match needed to have a little sizzle.
Oh, sure.
To be,
and you can't even do like a loserly SmackDown thing because you kind of need both guys to stay on SmackDown. Well,
right.
You don't need Ray on SmackDown, but he can't lose, and you can't have Eddie leave because you have him set up for something else. So
right.
Yeah, I agree with you. There has to be some kind of stip.
But logically, it's totally redonkulous.
Well, I just think something more realistic, like I mentioned, could have been maybe a little bit more believable. Like they fight for the right to go battle for custody, you know, or something like that. I don't know. I hate the fact that it's been such a good feud and rooted in a lot of realism because it's been about pure hatred from Eddie that he can't beat this guy, and it's just driving him nuts. Mm-hmm. And then we get here, and now they're fighting over a briefcase that has custody of one of their sons. I don't know. It's just, it seems so cavalier from Rey Mysterio. Like, I know he's won every time, but you're putting your son up in a match. You know, anything can happen. What if people interfere? What if travel? You know, it's like so much can go wrong.
I know.
And you're
it is bizarre.
Putting your son up? I mean, it's just,
and the social worker's
like of like goofy wrestling, you know?
Yes. And the social worker. I find this perfectly acceptable. We'll go to the proper authorities and say,
that's the worst part. The social worker, actually, she should have kept him. No, you're not going to wrestle for him. No. You both screwed up.
What is this, a 12-pack? A phone card?
Absurd.
So it's utterly bizarre. Yeah. But the match itself, as you'll dive into your analysis, the match itself is actually very good.
Is it? You think so?
I think so.
Okay.
You don't?
All right. So absurd, like we said. By the way, I really liked Cole here.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking from his personal experience with adopting children and blasting Eddie for saying Dominic is denied being a Guerrero. When the case is he's really Ray's son. Like I thought it was like one of the best Michael Cole moments of all time. Mm-hmm. Like he was like, stop anything else, and was like, I've adopted 2 kids. I know what it's like to be an adopted father. Like, fuck you, Eddie Guerrero, for doing what you're doing. You know, like it brought another dimension to the match. Where
it was good. I agree.
Now Cole has like a legit dog in the fight here. Eddie, fantastic heel. The whole presence, demeanor is just top notch. Just looking like such a piece of shit. Ray is somber and focused, gets off to a quick start, dumps Eddie to the floor. Eddie slings him into the steps and the ladder. Ray knocks Eddie off the ladder during the first climb. Dominic's rooting on Ray. Ray gets some stiff shots to the head and then drop kicks the ladder into Eddie on the floor and then hits a springboard seated senton. Eddie is the first to get his hands on the case, but Ray stops him. Eddie tries for a sunset flip powerbomb, and it goes really ugly. And I think that kind of worked here because it's such a heated fight. It's not supposed to be choreographed like the usual lucha match. You know, it's fine to me that they're screwing up spots. It's fine. It should be. They hate each other. They're beating the shit out of each other. Eddie starts using a ladder as a weapon to beat on Ray. They both take another sloppy, nasty fall when Ray backdrops Eddie off the ladder onto another ladder and then falls. Eddie's close to winning, but Dominic comes in and grabs the ladder and starts shaking it. Eddie comes down and screams at Dominic and demands a hug. Give me a hug! And Ray saves his son and beats on Eddie. Ray gets a 619, drops a dime with the ladder, and messes up his own leg in the process. Eddie traps Ray under the ladder, climbs it, and grabs the case, but Ray tips the ladder over, leaving Eddie hanging before Ray yanks him down. Eddie wipes out Ray with the suplex on the ladder, but Vicky comes out and stops Eddie from winning by knocking him off the ladder and pinning him down. Ray climbs and wins and then takes a gross fall afterwards. Dominic and Ray's wife Angie celebrate as a family. Ray looks... give me your take on the match, because then I want to talk about Ray, how he looks in this thing. Just give me purely the match.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I thought the pace was good. I thought the psychology was off the charts, and I think we knew going in that the psychology was going to be very good. I just love the way Eddie's just a good friggin' scumbag. He's just good at it, and I think it adds so much. I don't want to say Ray didn't carry his load in this feud, but psychologically, in terms of just the chemistry and the way the story was told, Eddie, just got it right. You know what I mean? And I think it translated into the match. It was a little choppy at times, but otherwise, I thought it was really good. I had no issues with it. I thought it was a fun brawl. I think the ladder was not used like a normal ladder match because Dominic was at ringside, so that added to...
Imagine if they hung him.
They put him on a hook.
If it was Vince Russo, he would have been hanging from that.
Oh, yeah. If it was Vince Russo, Dominic would have been actually hanging off the thing. Yeah, you're right.
I see you, SA. I'm coming to get you.
But overall, I didn't have an issue. I thought it was a good match.
We both have frosted tips. No, I thought it was a really good match. I thought it was bitter. I don't think it's the best of their series. I mean, it had the most, I guess, drama, but I think it's below the Bash. I think it's below Judgment Day, and it's definitely below the one they have afterwards.
And Mania?
I liked it better than Mania, I think.
Oh, okay.
Because there's more heat behind it. Mania felt more like an exhibition, and the
whole
shit
with
Ray's mask and everything else. Like, this, to me, at least had some... Everything since Mania's had a lot of heat and anger behind it, which I think have added to the premise of both of them, of all of them. So
right.
I'd put this one third after the Bash and after... I think Judgment Day may have been my favorite, and then the Bash and this one.
Okay.
But I thought Ray looked like a bitch. Like, he needed all this help, and he was so close to losing his son in a match, and he needs the guy who's fighting with his wife to come out and end up helping him. I'm fine with Vicky coming out, but I don't feel like that should have led to the ending. Like, I feel like maybe she should have done it mid-match or something, or not directly saved Ray. Like, this guy just looks like, we spent all of 2004 talking about how Matt Hardy looked like a dope, losing his girlfriend to Kane in that match.
Right.
Like, with no reason to put her on the line to get married. And now we're here, and it's like Rey Mysterio puts his son up, and if this woman doesn't come out, and if his son himself doesn't come out, like almost twice he lost.
Right.
He loses the kid. It's like, all right, shitbag dad. I thought maybe you had a little bit more up your sleeve than this. Like, I thought maybe you actually could win the match on your own. Thanks. Thanks, buddy. Could have lost me to this, nut by having, if you didn't get saved by this other woman. So it's just the whole thing was, I don't think it made Ray look smart or tough, even though he's won every match in this feud so far. I thought he looked kind of like a bitch in this one. But it was fun. I thought it was a wild train wreck, ugly like it should be. Closes the war. Ray winning on his own, I thought would have looked better. And they actually do have one more match that I think we'll probably talk about in a couple episodes. But overall, I think both guys are better than when they entered it. I think it's been Ray's best stuff since he came in. It's his first real feud. I think it's been a boon to Eddie's career, getting him back on the heel side and letting him be a dick again, like he's the best at.
Yes.
Get him kind of away from the smiley. I mean, he had a great run as a face, but I think he's well suited for the role he's in now.
I agree, and it's amazing. It feels like Ray's been here like a billion years, but he's only been here 3 years. It just seems like he's been here so much longer. But yeah, this really has been his first legit. I mean, think about it, JR. Go through these first 3 years of him in the company, and has he really had a decent extended feud with anybody? Not really.
Who, Eddie? Or
no, Ray.
No, he hasn't at all.
So it just looks weird. It's good to finally see some stability for him.
Right.
No,
I mean, he's pretty much just been cruiserweight stuff here or there. I mean, he's had little stuff with...
maybe the Kurt feud was probably the last real good one he had.
That wasn't even a feud. Well, I guess the SmackDown 6 stuff, I mean, you could kind of say...
Yeah.
But other than that, it's been the little thing with Hardy, the little thing with Chavo. I don't think much else. It's just kind of been bouncing around.
Yeah, no, it was a really good match. Logic be damned, but Ray wins. Ray keeps his kid, and Eddie loses again. But another fantastic match. Obviously, best match of the night thus far. We'll see if that holds up. Next up, another feud that made utterly no sense, but I think this was just more of a showcase for someone for something down the line.
I I've been hoping you would find me. You're the biggest part of me. Well, make a wish, baby.
Make a wish.
Well, and I will make it come true.
True.
So,
Little Lost Boys. Can't go wrong with that.
exactly. A band named after a dessert. How about that, huh? No, it's not Baked Alaska.
Bread?
No. Bread. Very good. Not them, but okay, with bread. That's interesting. No, Ambrosia
That's right.
is the band.
That's
Shitty
a
dessert.
shitty dessert. Oh,
It is a shitty dessert. Jello and strawberry. Ugh, gross. Marshmallows. Anyway, your boy.
Jello.
Your boy. I don't know what this was. I'll let you go.
I didn't mind it. So after moving to Raw, Kurt Angle brought back his Angle Invitational, challenging hometown heroes to last 5 minutes in the ring for a chance to win his gold medals. On 7:25, Eugene came out and challenged Angle. Angle bit, and Eugene would last the 5 minutes and win the medal. His new friend and cheerleader, Christy Hemme, came to the ring, put the medal on his neck, and joined him in a victory lap. On 8-1, Eugene held his own Invitational, and the show emanated from Mohegan Sun, where yours truly, Scott Criscola, I guess you
Yes,
truly,
I was
in
there.
attendance for that show.
My brother and I were both there, yes.
And the hometown hero was Tatanka, which I thought was pretty funny. The Indian
Good pop.
casino.
It was like the highlight of the night, which is kind of sad.
Makes his long-promised return. If you remember his website, as far back as like 99, vowed he'd be back someday, and here he is in 05, returning. Eugene won the match by DQ when Angle interfered, and Eugene kept control of his medal. On 8-8, Raw aired live from Pittsburgh, so Angle played the hometown hero and challenged Eugene. Angle was about to win, but he accidentally hit the ref and was DQ'd. He kept assaulting Eugene until Hulk Hogan made the save, and Angle would assault Eugene again a week later and announced that he would face him at the pay-per-view. And I actually didn't mind this. Like, Angle needed something just to get him through the month. He's had a good year. Had the great series with Michaels. Had the weird bestiality shit with Booker T. And he's got stuff coming very soon. But he just needs to kill a few weeks. So I thought the Angle Invitational was a shrewd idea to get him in action on TV. And I liked this. This is the use for Eugene. Like, forget the Triple H stuff, forget the main event level stuff.
Right.
This kind of humor and campiness is perfect for Eugene because he can wrestle enough to make it believable, but it's a lot of goofiness. It's in the mid card. It's not anything, a lot of gravity around it. It's like perfect use for him. Even though you got the weird thing with Christy being his caretaker or whatever
nurse
taking advantage of him. I don't know. Like, hey, look, it's a mentally challenged wrestler, and now this chick is, I don't know, using him for something. I don't know. What's she doing?
Exactly. It's not exactly rich or anything. Gold digger.
Well, you don't know that.
Well, it's true.
Wrestling
Uncle
for a
Eric,
year
Uncle
now.
Eric, maybe Uncle Eric gave him money. Who knows?
It's been saving up.
Uncle Eric's sister.
So Kurt lost his medals, like we said, a nice payoff actually to that Angle too that he had done as far back as 02 or whatever, and now it's or was it 04? When did he do this? 02 was just the ruthless aggression thing, right? 04 was the Angle Invitational.
Yes.
Okay. So payoff to that. He finally loses the medals.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was funny. Eugene cheered for Angle during the entrance, and then Angle steps in the ring and punches him in the face. I left.
Yeah, I did like that. Yeah.
Angle waxes Eugene, murders him with clotheslines and strikes. Just a ferocious pace. Crowd is completely behind Angle. Eugene tries to people's elbow, but Kurt pops up and drills him with a clothesline. Kurt goes to the suplexes and then grinds Eugene to the mat with anger. Eugene misses a splash in the corner and eats a German. Eugene hulks up and gets a near fall on the rock bottom. Avoids an Angle slam, hits a stunner for a near fall. Eugene hooks an ankle lock, but Angle slips free, hits an Angle slam, and then tries to get a quick tap on the ankle lock. Fun squash as an angry, aggressive Angle is a sight to see. Plus the crowd is just like insane for this. And I love machine, angry, aggressive Angle when he just goes in and like goes next level and starts beating the piss out of guys. It feels like a whole other level of wrestling when he does that stuff.
I agree.
And it felt more like a feisty sprint. Angle just wants to get a win quick and get his medals. Like he's not there to psychotically abuse him. And I think that's the difference because there's a lot of comparison to Triple H the year before. And I want your take on this. Remember we talked about how malicious that seemed, where he just like pounded him and pounded him and pounded him and like took Lee in it and just beat the shit out of him. And it felt almost like mean. And I feel like a lot's changed in that time. Like at that point in 04, Eugene was still really being built up as like, the special needs kid. And here it's more like,
right.
Okay, we kind of know he can wrestle now. And also the big point to me is Angle just mows through him because he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care about Eugene. He just wants his medals back. He wants nothing to do with anything else. Triple H felt like he was there to murder Eugene, and abuse him and beat him down for being, to be an asshole. Whereas Angle, to me, wouldn't even be in this if Eugene didn't steal his medal. So, to me, the style's differently, so it doesn't feel as bad. Angle stands on a chair. The ref puts the medals on him, and the crowd is just going nuts. I thought it was a really fun moment, setting Angle up. He's now, beaten Shawn Michaels and gotten his medals back in this cool moment, and he's really been rehabbed. So, what are your thoughts on the match itself and the way it went down versus the one the year before?
That's an interesting analogy about what Triple H did the year before, because that seemed like a systematic dissection for really no purpose whatsoever, but maybe just to finish the feud off or whatever. But Angle reminds me, and we've said this in past vaults, Angle and Benoit are cut from that similar mold, where if they need to be amped up to the next level, they can do that in an entertaining fashion. And Kurt knew he can, here's the psychology of it. Kurt knew he could beat Eugene. I mean, I think we all know he could. It was a question of, I just want my medal, so I don't care how long this takes. And the match was 4.5 minutes. I just want my medal back. I don't really care about him or his well-being or winning. I just want my medal back. And he got that, and that was it. But the crowd was bonkers, which is a catalyst for what we're going to talk about after the break in one of the other matches about crowd reactions and such. And I think this match was a catalyst of that. I don't think the writers or creative was totally prepared for that. And then when they did what they did the next night on Raw, I think they were trying to change that and kind of couldn't, even when they tried to do so many things to that storyline, which we'll get into. But to your question about the difference between this match and Triple H, this was more of a, I just want my medal. I don't care. I'm going to get it done quick. I'm going to make them pay, and I'll take my medal and leave. Whereas last year at SummerSlam with Triple H just wanted to torture him.
Right, he was maiming him for sport, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pretty much.
It's like, so it's two different cycles. Retarded guy that has been messing with my title. I'm gonna destroy him. It felt mean, this just felt like this guy stole my medals. I need to just find the quickest way to get them back, and the quickest way I know is just to destroy this guy.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think I'll admit it was a good use of Kurt, and it just seemed like filler, which it pretty much was. Yep. But Kurt Angle gets his medals back, and then he gets some bigger fish to fry, which we'll get more into in the next vault. All right.
And a quick point on the Angle challenge, the Invitational. If you remember, one of the guys who challenged him was a school teacher named Matt Stryker. Had been investigated by the Queen's School Commission because he called out sick and was using those sick days between December 2004 and February 2005 to tour as a wrestler. So he had gained some notoriety in the independent scene for having gotten in trouble as a teacher for using his sick days to wrestle. And he was called in here for a shot, and then he ends up signing a contract. So just a funny side note.
Yes, exactly. Backstage.
Oh, yes.
Some incredibly smoking hot divas. Shown washing a limo. And I don't think at that moment, I think Maria was one of them. But
yes.
both Candace and
Tori.
No, not Tori. It was, I believe it was our new Diva Search girl.
No, Christy? No, she was just in the match.
No, she was the year before.
No, it wasn't Ashley yet, was it?
Yeah.
She was out there?
Yeah. It was Maria, Ashley, and Candace.
Yeah.
Were washing the limo and prancing around and looking incredibly smoking hot.
I mean it's basically like Skinamax.
Candace has always been one of my... Candace and Ashley were both always two of my favorites.
It was like Skinamax level.
Yeah, I mean, it was like I was waiting for, some, Sean Stasiak looking guy or something to come out or whatever.
It was absurd.
The window rolled down, and guess who was there? Vinnie Mac.
You get in the gym. You're all pasty white. I don't know. You look like you haven't seen the sun in years. You gotta hit a tanning bed like the real men. Have you seen Hulk Hogan? Yeah, you gotta be brown, orange. That's the color for TV. Well, all right. Listen. You look like you're in your 5th stage of AIDS treatment.
Poor Kevin. Or what Vince would look like in Chicago the following year.
I know, right?
He looks like bacon. Anyway, Vince rolls down, pans back, sees the McMahon for president bumper sticker, and he goes, "Why not?"
Right.
So
there you go.
But yeah, it was definitely Maria, Ashley, and we'll talk more about her as time moves on, and Candace, who, oh my God, Candace was in porn.
Yes.
So no wonder she looked like it. All right, back to business. Back to another feud.
Yeah, but it was actually, I liked it. I thought it was a pretty funny throwaway bit. Like, killed a few minutes backstage. You get the Vince payoff with the why not? Get the hot TNA. They kind of condensed all the shit that usually eats up a ton of time into one little cute, like, 2-minute thing.
Yep, perfect. Worked absolutely perfect. All right, next up, another match that has been not drawn out. I shouldn't say that. Not a good terminology. Another extended feud that has gone back to early March, and this is the long-awaited rematch from WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. How did we get here, JR?
We got here by driving. Heading into WrestleMania, it was announced that Randy Orton had a badly injured shoulder and would need some time off. The night after losing to Undertaker, Orton disclosed he had a shoulder injury on Raw, but still faced Batista in a non-title match. After losing that match, he hit the DL to rehab. Orton made an appearance on Raw prior to the draft lottery to announce that he was ineligible due to injury. Vince McMahon came out and shot Orton down, telling him he was indeed eligible to be drafted. And the SmackDown was kind of controversial at the time, if you remember, as Vince bullied Orton and made fun of his physique, saying basically he had shrunken from being off the roids while he was out rehabbing. If you remember say like you look at his neck looks like a stack of dimes or whatever, and the suit was like all baggy on him.
Yes.
So of course a dickhead move. This is like, we've had some douchey Vince McMahon years. We are entering like 05 to the end of 06 is like really prime, like douchebag Vince McMahon.
Yeah,
so,
he really is a prick. Yeah,
like
he is.
On screen and off screen. Like backstage, just a real dick with a lot of stuff. And on, like, I don't know if it was the rating sinking or if he thought he had to ham it up or if it's, the switch back on net, whatever it was. He felt like he needed to like revert back to just being a piece of shit, and he does. So we'll cover a lot of those things. So Orton made his debut after being drafted on the 6/16 SmackDown. He attacked The Undertaker, cost him a match with JBL. He announced that he was SmackDown's second pick in the lottery. Things cooled off, but history repeated itself on 7/28 when Orton again cost The Undertaker a match against JBL, this time costing him a title match at SummerSlam. A week later, Orton would challenge Taker to a SummerSlam match, and Taker would accept. On 8/11, Teddy Long booked Orton for a match with the mystery legend. That legend turned out to be Kamala. Orton defeated him, but Undertaker had hit him with a threatening message on the Titantron. On 8/18, Orton defeated Chris Benoit, but after the match, Undertaker appeared in the ring and dropped Orton with a chokeslam. And that makes sense, because it didn't really cross my mind, but didn't Taker defeat Hassan to earn a title match here? Wasn't that the stipulation in that bout?
Yeah, that was number one contenders match. So I don't know if it was for this show, but it was a number one contenders match. It probably was. Yeah.
So that match with JBL on. Well, I guess maybe we'll get to it later. But that match, he must have put it on the line against JBL in that match. Then that Orton costing him is what leads to this.
Okay.
All right, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's almost like a double. It's weird. He won the number one contender, but then it cost him the title match anyway.
Well, I'm guessing he won it against Hassan and put it on the line against JBL on SmackDown.
Yeah.
And then
I don't know. I don't know though, because it seemed like JBL had that title shot already. I don't know.
Well, we'll see when we get to that match.
We'll yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. You're going to say. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. You can do it.
I was going to say, statistically, Undertaker has not missed a SummerSlam in 13 years.
There you go.
Since 1992, 8-4-1 in that span. Wins over. Who did he fight in? Who did he fight? Oh, I won't go through all of them. The only one I'm trying to remember is 93. Who the hell did he fight in 93?
Giant Gonzalez.
Oh, no wonder I forgot.
Come on.
Hey, motherfucker. Under Faker,
Yep.
Foley.
We're not doing it. So, crowd is juiced for Taker. Long wait for this Mania rematch. Orton back from injury. Feels refreshed. I think it was a good break for him. He needed it, even though he was feeling pretty good after that heel turn. I think it's still good that he got a little bit of the stank off him from the face bomb. Gets back going here. Orton shit talks for a bit, and then Taker tosses him around. Orton does his best to duck and dodge, lands a couple shots, but Taker cracks him with a clothesline for a near fall. Taker works the arm. Orton blocks Old School by chucking Taker to the mat. Taker comes back striking and a big boot to the face with a leaping clothesline for 2. Orton dodges a charging boot. Undertaker crashes hard over the top rope to the apron. Orton catches him coming in with a DDT for 2 and goes right to work on the leg with some aggression. Orton picks up the near falls as he pounces and works Taker over, punishing the leg. Taker makes a comeback, but Orton cuts it off by going back to the leg. Taker battles back, hits the apron leg drop, and hits a DDT inside for a near fall. Orton counters with snake eyes and a drop kick, and is just really on point here. Good action and build that makes it feel like he had prepped for this during his whole time off. The way he's dodging moves and countering and being prepared. It's like he spent his whole waking time preparing for this match while he was injured. Taker blocks Orton. Orton blocks a tombstone. Taker blocks an RKO. Orton blocks a tombstone into a neck breaker for a close near fall. Taker rolls through a crossbody into a choke slam. I thought that was a pretty cool spot. Mm-hmm. Taker sets up for the finish, but some weird old man jumps in the ring and tries to shake Taker's hand. Taker and security push him to the floor. Orton has time to recover, hits the RKO for the big win. And that's a win that Orton really needed, and he got it relatively cleanly. The old man is revealed to be Cowboy Bob. The two celebrate. I thought that was a nice twist. It makes full sense. A fun match. I thought it was good pacing. It was a smart move to keep this feud going. There's plenty of interest and benefits for both guys because the first match was really just a quick kind of respect angle, and now we're having a full-blown feud. I was thrilled to see Cowboy Bob back. I thought he added a lot to the Orton kind of smarmy douche package.
Yep.
And I liked this. I don't know if it was better than Mania, maybe just a half a step behind Mania, because the Mania had more of the hook of would Taker's streak end. I think here was pretty obvious Orton was going to win. Like, I don't think there was any way they were going to have Taker beat him twice on the big shows. So, it's almost like Orton can't end the streak, so we'll give him the win here instead. So, anyway, those are my thoughts. What did you think of this? Was it where do you compare it to Mania, and then what did you just think of the whole angle itself?
The matches were about even. I like the match at WrestleMania, but I love your theory about Orton worked for this. You know what I'm saying? During his time off, it didn't seem like he had to be carried by Taker as much here as he did at SummerSlam. SummerSlam, bigger stage, as you said, the drama over Orton winning, and I think there was a little bit of drama at Mania that Orton could have won that match. But here, I think he was trying to prove something to the veteran, and I thought it was a very crisp match.
I think there's more drama at Mania than here. I think this one was obvious Orton was winning.
No, yeah. I think
that's what made Mania better, was that there was a chance that Orton could break the streak, and now it's like, well, why would they fight again if Taker's going to beat him again? It didn't make sense because there wasn't enough build to just have Taker squash him a second time.
Right.
So to me, I think the obvious, for once, the Mania finish wasn't as obvious as this match was, to me anyway.
Right.
Like I was like, oh, Orton could be the guy, and there was a lot of speculation he would be. Here, it's kind of like, well, they're not going to have him lose. He just came back from injury. It seemed pretty obvious to me.
Right. I think the difference here is, were they going to let him win clean?
Right. Yeah.
How much shenanigans as a heel was Orton going to have to do here? Because I think beating Taker here is nice, but if he had to do a lot of goofy shenanigans, then I think it would have been devalued. I think other than the interference, Orton's RKO and win was about as good as it got for him and what he needed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was as, but Cowboy Bob came in and all that. But I think still it was a relatively clean. It wasn't like he hit him with a chair or whatever.
Right. Well, if it's face Orton or battling for respect or something, then it's shady. But we're now entering like dickbag Orton phase.
Yep.
And it's okay for him to win like this, in my mind. It's fine. Like, he hung with Taker twice and almost beat him at Mania. So it's not like he can't hang unless he gets help. I mean, he had him on the brink. So to me, him just coming in and, running a little bit of interference. And it's not like Taker had him. I don't think Taker didn't have him, like, pinned or anything, right? When Orton came in, he was, like, just setting up for the tombstone.
Yeah, he was setting up.
It's not like he had him down for a 3 count and then Cowboy Bob came in or anything like that. So, I was fine with how it went.
Yeah, me too. And Orton, Cowboy Bob, and it's awesome because again, going back to what I was saying earlier about Hall of Fame and things like that, that it wasn't established yet that they were just coming here, get their hall, their rings, their.
Well, he was at Mania though, right? Cowboy Bob interfered in that match too.
I don't remember if he did or not.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
Yeah.
So
he hit him with the cast.
That's right. Oh, that's right. We thought it was cool because it reminded us of
Arn, yeah.
Arn with the Spinebuster at 18. Yeah, you're right. So keeping him in the feud was a great idea. I was looking forward to seeing where they were going with this, actually. It kind of rejuvenated me when I watched it last week. Looking forward again to going through the feud and seeing where I know where they end up, but I'll be looking forward to remembering the ins and outs of how this goes, particularly for Orton, because it was time now for Orton to get that established now. He went through the shit face turn. He ate plates of crap against Triple H. Now it was time to kind of reboost him, and he's just a good heel. And I think this is better for him. So, but that Vince thing with his physique, that was kind of shitty.
No, it was real. I mean, people were pissed, and that was part of the whole. We're getting close now. We're inching towards it. 05 to me being, HGH Central, just everyone juiced, everyone gassed,
fucking gigantic heads,
and they're being like obvious, they're like brazen about it. You know what I mean? Like, look at you, you're all slim down, you pussy. Like, get on the freaking juice like I am. It's,
you need more back knee. Come on. It's like,
yeah, it's awful. It's
so bizarre.
They're flaunting that everyone's juiced up and this guy isn't because he's rehabbing. It's just,
I know.
It's a weird time, and the shit hits the fan heavily in a couple months.
Yes, it
as
does.
We'll see, but it's building. It's building.
Yes,
heavily.
it is. And we've been talking about it since pretty much January. It even showed up maybe towards the tail end of 04. So Randy Orton gets the win, gets back the loss from WrestleMania, and we continue on with this feud because there's plenty more of it to come. Why don't we take a break, JR? Thoughts so far? I've enjoyed the show.
Yeah, it's moved along quickly. No real stinkers at all, which is good.
No.
But like we talked about, the star power is crazy. I mean, the names alone, Chris Benoit, Edge, and Matt Hardy. At the time, not mega names, but climbing. Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle, Randy Orton, The Undertaker. I mean, and we haven't even hit the triple main event. I mean, that's the undercard of the show. Is just loaded. So it's been a good show. I've enjoyed it.
Yep. So when we take a break and when we come back, 3 matches left, 2 title matches, or 2 big title matches, and then the big main event, Legend versus Icon. But first, the first words of 2016. Because?
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
What's up, everybody? This is Kevin Kelly. Make sure you check out every episode of The Kevin Kelly Show right here on the Place to Be Nation. PlaceToBeNation.com. The Kevin Kelly Show. Every episode is a winner. At least we hope.
Place to Be Nation's Justin Rosero here. In addition to the Kevin Kelly Show, we have a ton of great podcasts available to you on iTunes and PlaceToBeNation.com. You can check out Scott Criscullo and me on the Mothership, the Place to Be podcast, home of great interviews and our famous Vintage Vault pay-per-view reviews. If you need your fix of current wrestling talk, we have plenty of options for you, including Main Event, which features a roundtable discussion led by PTBN analysts and special guests, and our monthly pay-per-view reaction shows, including immediate feedback and discussion for WWE, NXT, Ring of Honor, and New Japan Super Shows. Also, be sure to relive wrestling's past with Graham Cawthon's excellent exclusive History of Wrestling podcast, Phil Schneider's Digging in the Crates, and our monthly pay-per-view rewind roundtable series led by Ben Morse. And join Pro Wrestling Only's Will and I on the Dangerous Alliance podcast as we dive into various subjects in the form of exercises and games. Sports fans have plenty to enjoy as well. We featured the Sports Evolution Mega Show with Scott, Dr. G, Cowboy, and Cowboy Sr., the Kings of Sport, led by Live Audio Wrestling's Godfather Nate Milton, as well as the NBA Team Podcast, which takes a year-round deep dive into pro hoops, and the TJ McClune Show, featuring great guests from around the world of sports journalism. PTBN also proudly features the Richard the Mailman Podcast, specializing in the world of TV, thought leadership, anger, and irreverence. As mentioned, all these shows available on PlaceToBeNation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world. PTBN also is the home to tremendous in-depth features on pro wrestling, sports, movies, comics, plus tournaments and more. We also want to thank our friends at Bonehead's Wing Bar in West Warwick, Rhode Island, and Fall River, Massachusetts, Scott Keats, RSPWFAQ.com blog, and PileDriver.net.
PWO, PTBN, Podcast Network.
We got a lot of great shows about pro wrestling, and we put them all on one feed that you can find wherever you listen to podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or, of course, at PlaceToBeNation.com.
That's Pro Wrestling Only, Place to Be Nation, Podcast Network.
There's a lot of podcasts out there, but you won't find the historical depth, analytical insight, and great debate anywhere else. From old school wrestling talk to current day reaction shows, there's something for everyone.
PWO, PTBN, Podcast Network.
Oh, and check out our complete archive at PlaceToBeNation.com. Just click on the podcast logo for links to all of our shows, as well as subscribing options. Place to Be Nation, the only place to be for pro wrestling podcasts.
Hey, this is Headbanger Thrasher, and you're listening to what the fuck is it? The Place to Be Podcast, so you better not miss it, because because I'm on it.
All right, Nation, we're back here, episode 391, looking at SummerSlam 2005. We're going to take a quick moment to talk about PlaceToBeNation.com. Entering 2016, we want to thank you for making us really popular, I guess, in 2015. All your support.
And awesome as always, yes.
Has helped
thank
us
you.
grow our podcast feed, featured on Podbean under the Sports and Recreation section, which is big. I mean, there's tons of shows and feeds on that.
Yes.
On Podbean in that bucket, and we're there. Featured is on the top row. We also won the Sheedy for Best Podcast Wrestling-Based Podcast Feed, so we want to thank you for that as well.
Very
All the
much
shows
so.
here. Thanks to our friends over at Talking Sheet, Les and the gang, so I want to thank you for your support and everyone who voted for us as well. And we had a bunch of winners across the board. Our buddy Chris Zellner won a couple of awards and many others as well. So thank you so much for your support in the voting there. Our Seinfeld series rewatch continued with The Label Maker, Season 6, Episode 12. Our Vintage Vault Refresh series continues, Scott. Saturday's main event, 10-3-87. Nice picture of Sika. New Titans Wrestling, number 57 with the boys, looking at some action from the summer of 1982, June and July, including a Bob Backlund, Jimmy Snuka WWF title match in Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
So listen to that. Debut episode, our buddies over at Mission Indie Possible. And that is Steve Willie, the host, finally in the big chair, joined by Jordan Duncan, Brad Woodling, and Glenn Butler discussing Chikara and Night 1 of King of Trios in 2011. So join the boys there for our new show here at PlaceToBeNation.com, Mission Indie Possible. New Exile on Bad Street, number 21, looking at Bluegrass Brawlin', the history of Smoky Mountain Part 2. The Part 1 was tremendous. Chris joined again by good old Will and Tim Knoll from Wrestling Power to discuss the year of 1994 in Smoky Mountain, which is a very revered year for that promotion.
Yes, absolutely.
We crowned a champion at our holiday tournament spectacular, Scott. Grand champion, Charlie Brown Christmas. Outlasted, I believe, Christmas Vacation to win the title. So,
let's see.
I believe it's Christmas Vacation. So, a big, number 2 seed, Charlie Brown, defeated the number 8 Christmas Vacation. So, 50th anniversary of Charlie Brown Christmas, and we named it here our greatest holiday thing. So, Adam Murray ranked the top music videos of 2015. PTBN's excellent network adventure continued world class from 126.83. Glenn Butler had his walk around the web. We had a new episode of the Kevin Kelly Show. We did a full year in review for 2015. Our buddy Joel Barnhart rebooked Starrcade 91. That was a cool installment there. New Between the Sheets, looking at December 22nd to 28th of 89 with Dylan Hales. And a new Rank and File, led by Jordan Duncan, looking at the top 10 Christmas movie characters. And lots of other moments of memory. So be sure to check everything out, all our podcasts. Subscribe on iTunes. Place to Be Podcast feed, PWO-PTBN podcast feed, and the Kevin Kelly Show feed as well. Subscribe to all three. You can rate us. You can leave comments. We appreciate that. You can also visit PlaceToBeNation.com before going to Amazon. Click the banner on the right-hand side that takes you right to Amazon. Do all your shopping. Nothing else is needed. So thank you for your ongoing support. We hope it continues here in 2016 as we reach our third birthday?
Yes, third birthday in June. Yes, indeed.
There you go. All right, Scott, where are we at in SummerSlam 05?
Let's go back to the MCI Center in our nation's capital, and time now for our first title match of the evening, JR. Technically the Raw, well, I guess it's not even the Raw main event. The WWE Championship on the line. Your champion, as you mentioned, JR, John Cena, who has held it since WrestleMania 21, taking on a fresh opponent and one that would kind of challenge him in the ring and even challenge him for fans. Let's get the inside scoop.
On 7-4, Chris Jericho had John Cena on the highlight reel. The interview quickly turned heated and ended in a brawl between the two men. A week later, Cena and Eric Bischoff met face-to-face in the ring, and Bischoff made his hatred for the Thug Cena public and announced that Chris Jericho would be challenging Cena at SummerSlam. Jericho kissed up to the GM and promised to win the gold. On 7/25, Cena and Jericho would compete in a battle of the bands, which Cena won per the fan reaction. Later that night, Cena was booked in a match with Carlito, and Jericho was announced as a special referee. And as expected, Carlito won thanks to Jericho's chicanery. The next week, Bischoff made a rematch with Jericho as the ref yet again. Cena would get the win when Jericho was bumped and a second ref came in, but Jericho then assaulted Cena after the bell and busted him open with a TV camera. Jericho and Bischoff stood tall with the title belt in hand as Cena laid bloodied in the ring. A week later, Bischoff forced referee Chad Patton into the match with Jericho as punishment for getting involved in their business. Cena made the save, but Bischoff put Cena in a handicap match with Jericho and Carlito. The following week, Cena won that match, but after the bell, Jericho cracked him with a super stiff chair shot. So before we get to anything more, Scott, I wanted your take on the turn for Jericho, kind of back to being a smarmy, kiss-ass heel, which I thought worked well. I thought his face stuff had played out, and I like him when he's sucking up to the Authority. And what did you think of Bischoff, who's kind of been a little wishy-washy for a while now? He hasn't been the true heel since, I don't know, 04 sometime? Because even at the end of 04, when he went on vacation and all that stuff, and then even early 04, he's kind of been down the line a bit more. And now here he's gone like full 98 McMahon and Jericho and Cena is Austin. So what do you think of this? Does it feel like a rehash? Is it believable? Or does it feel forced that Bischoff all of a sudden hates John Cena and wants the belt off him and it feels like we're back to Austin McMahon?
I wouldn't say we're going – I don't think it's that full-blown that we're going back to 98, but it did seem out of nowhere that Bischoff hates Cena because we didn't hear much about Cena losing – well, he was on another show, so I guess it didn't matter.
Right.
I think the issue with Bischoff was because Evolution like totally broke down and he was kind of Evolution's bitch for most of 03 and into early 04. Yeah, he kind of lost a lot of his bite. I think he kind of lost his desire in the job, to be honest with you, the actual character. So I think he kind of was coasting. But now I think they're like, all right, we got to get Cena some heat on this show. So Bischoff, just, turn heel. Not turn heel, but re-heel yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I get why they're doing it, but do you feel like the rehash is too gratuitous? It's like, ugh, all right, here we are. Bischoff hates Cena. I keep saying Austin because it basically is.
Yeah.
I hate Cena. I don't want the belt on him. You're a thug, blah, blah, blah. You're not my corporate champ. It's like,
yeah,
it just feels like, we're not that far removed from McMahon and Austin. And it felt, I don't know. It just felt like a little like, it's fine because Bischoff is such a good heel and Jericho's such a good kiss ass and Cena you can understand why Cena would represent what's hateable, why he's so disliked in that role by an authority figure.
Mm-hmm.
But it just feels like we're back to the well, and it just screams to me why like authority figures are starting to get played out.
There's no doubt about that. I think it was definitely a something to kind of push Cena's face turn because on SmackDown he was the overwhelming beloved guy because the rest of the roster was heels and tired out faces. But now you're on Raw, where even though he is hurt, Triple H does linger in the wings, so you don't know what would happen with that. And you've got stronger personalities. You've got Shawn. You've got Kurt. You've got all these. Cena kind of almost needs his hand held as on a roster that has so many more dominant personalities that I think they thought, well, we'll get Cena over. Let's just make Bischoff a big time douche again. So yeah, it did seem very forced because it felt like he had to have Bischoff as a character crutch,
right?
To get over and stay over as a face on a show that had much more strong characters, both face and heel, than he had on SmackDown.
Right, and it gets worse as the year goes on, and not worse in a bad way, but his obsession gets worse and it becomes more and more gratuitous. So as the summer wore on, it was leaked that Jericho's contract was coming to an end and he'd be leaving WWE to take a break from the lifestyle and pursue his music and other TV aspirations. After losing this match, he was given a rematch by Eric Bischoff the following night on Raw, with the stipulation that the loser of the match would be fired. Jericho indeed lost and was dragged off by security as he cried, and the fans serenaded him farewell. At the time, it was unknown if Jericho would ever return, and of course he will at some point, but at the time, we weren't sure. Were you surprised that Chris Jericho walked away at this point?
No. It was evident over the last year or so that he was enjoying Fozzy more. He was being on the road. He was on Eddie Trunk's, heavy metal radio show. He was on Sirius XM a little bit more. So it was definitely evident that he had a separate life that he wanted to, explore and expand. And let's be honest, after losing to Triple H at Judgment Day 02, what the hell's he really done? He's kind of got mired in the mid card. He's had some decent feuds, but nothing really crazy.
Well, I mean, the Christian stuff with Trish was
Christian stuff was good in 04.
But no, you could tell he was kind of running out of things to do. I mean, he hadn't had a good title feud in a while. Remember, we talked to Vengeance, how he hadn't had even like a single solo title shot in forever. So, I mean, he had that, but he definitely did seem like a guy that needed some refreshing. And he had so many irons in the fire with the band, with the, like you said, the Eddie Trunk show, with the
he was doing stuff on VH1.
Yeah, the Best Week Ever shit.
Best Week Ever, yep.
Stuff. So he was heavy into those talking head shows on VH1. He was really building a name for himself. So, you know, I think that's fine that he needed the time off. It was just, it's always weird to see a guy that seems so, you know, ingratiated in the business or in the promotion to all of a sudden just leave. Like we talked about with the Dudleys when they left. Even though it makes sense, it's always jarring. It's like, wow, Chris Jericho's not going to be around. And he's a guy that hasn't even been hurt. Right? I mean, I think he's been on TV steadily since, you know, 99 when he debuted. 6 years. Steady, this guy's been on. So it was certainly a guy that really needed a break.
Yeah. No, he definitely did. And was he going to be missed? Yeah. I mean, we always love having him around. But for his own sanity and his own well-being, he was due for a break. He was due for, you know, to kind of get away from the day-to-day grind. And he really wanted to tour with his band and check out some other stuff. So
I think and his character and persona needed a break too. I mean, I think it was all, very bland and played out by this point. I think the rest was good.
Definitely. But did he? Would he have a great farewell pay-per-view match, JR? What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. So Jericho, of course, slowly turned heel. Back to the Authority Rebel angle. Awful Y2 cheap stuff, which I hated. Oh my God, so lame. The Cena calling him Y2 cheap, like, did not help his cause at all here. Brawls early, spills to the floor. Crowd is split early on, cheering both guys. Jericho hits a low drop kick and starts a general assault with no true focus. Coach full heel mode, by the way, on commentary. Which did we mention that he was in the booth?
Coach was, I think, right? Yeah. So, Coach. We meant to add that. Coach was there too.
Yeah, he was taking on the full heel role. So he's behind Jericho as the voice of Bischoff, really. Jericho hits a nice top rope superplex. Cena makes a comeback but misses a shoulder block. Jericho hits a bulldog. Cena blocks the walls and kicks him to the floor. Jericho blocks the FU with the DDT for 2. Cena hits a desperation clothesline leading to a slugfest. Jericho finally grabs the walls. Cena escapes, and the two battle on the ropes. Jericho hits a nice super back suplex for a close near fall, and the crowd is really into it. Jericho argues with the ref. Cena grabs him in the FU and gets the win. It was a fun match. Jericho got frustrated and it cost him in the end. Pretty good performance by Cena. The crowd response is strong. It's split, but it's strong. And they're not booing Cena as much as they seem to like Jericho. I don't think they've started to turn on Cena yet. I don't know if they did him any favors in some ways by putting him with Jericho, but they haven't turned on him. They just seem to prefer Jericho in this one. But I thought the match was solid. I thought it was good. It was really good. Nothing great, but it was not. It wasn't a deterrent for John Cena as champion. I'll put it that way. It was a fine match. I thought it was, again, one that was fairly obvious. I don't think anyone thought Jericho would win the title here, despite the build. I mean, I guess you could maybe sniff a screw job with Bischoff, but I think most saw that Cena was the horse for a while now. Mm-hmm. What did you think of the match, and what did you think of Y2 Cheap?
Y2 Cheap. The match, I liked it a lot. I enjoyed the match very much. I think Jericho worked a good heel style. He was bludgeoning Cena. He was really punishing him more than he did for in the past. And I mean, here's a guy who hasn't had a title. This is his first title match in over 3 years. He has not had a title match on pay-per-view since losing to Triple H in WrestleMania 18, and then he had the one on Raw that handicap thing with Stephanie. But other than that, he hasn't had a title shot in ages. And on pay-per-view in pretty much 3.5 years. So it looked fresh, but Cena needed to win. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the match a lot. As for the crowd, and you did a pretty good. It was an excellent analysis. He wasn't booed, but there were more people pretty much liking Jericho. So you didn't hear Cena. Cena wasn't getting booed when he was doing stuff. The pop just was a little lighter than it was, like, say, at Judgment Day or even Vengeance. But he wasn't getting booed. But his pops when he was doing things were a little thinner, and Jericho was not getting as many boos as he should have. And I think a lot of that is because of just the kind of guys he's facing. Jericho's a likable guy for the diehard work rate guys, and he's going to have a gigantic problem in his next feud, and we'll get more into that in the next Vault. And that's based on what we heard earlier in the show. But I like the match a lot, and I think going in, a lot of people were going to see those issues with Cena kind of getting his popularity split with other guys, because there's just guys who are better wrestlers than him, and the diehard work rate guys are going to like them. Cena's character doesn't get shit on until much later. But this was just more of a, I'd like to see Jericho win, let's cheer him. Not a, I hate Cena's guts. But that changes soon. But I did enjoy the match. I think they had good chemistry. And I think the match on Raw the next night was actually pretty good too, if I remember. It was a decent length main event. So John Cena retains his WWE Championship with a win over Chris Jericho. And yes, I want to clarify, we didn't say it earlier, but I'm sure some people won't listen to the whole show before mentioning it. Coach was with JR and King, and he was there the whole time.
Right. And actually, he's come a long way from the last time we had him in this role. And I thought he's been good. Like, he was pretty good in the show playing up the heel role, because Lawler's pretty much passed on the heel stuff. He's pretty much in the face color role. So having Coach there to be the voice of Bischoff made a lot of sense. And I thought he actually added a little energy to the booth, getting JR fired up and really pushing the Bischoff line. So I liked him on the show. I in the past, it's felt forced, but I thought here he did a nice job being a douchey Bischoff. I can't believe he's been a heel for 2 years now in these reviews. So
I know, it is funny. Yeah.
But here he is, so.
And JR got like, he's like, do you know where Topeka, Kansas is? Well, if you don't shut up, I'm going to send you back there. It was pretty good. And JR has almost become, I wouldn't say he's full-blown face. He's almost become like a devil's advocate announcer. Right. Like, well, JR, in this instance, but then he could go to the face. It was a little back and forth thing, but Coach definitely has settled into this role now. He's done a fantastic job. It's not forced anymore, not at all. Next up, our final title match of the evening, the World Heavyweight Championship on the line, your champion, as we mentioned, Bautista, who has been champ since WrestleMania, in a rematch from the Great American Bash. Not much here, JR. Pretty much an automatic rematch, correct? Not much to say here.
Well, no. We talked about it earlier. On 7/28, Teddy Long granted JBL a match with The Undertaker to determine who would face Batista at SummerSlam. So they did put Taker's shot up on the line here.
Okay.
JBL would win the match with an assist from Randy Orton to earn the title rematch. The next week, the contract was signed. Batista allowed JBL to pick the stipulation, and he chose no holds barred. On 8/11, JBL interfered in Batista's match with Christian, laying out the Animal with 4 chair shots. And we talked about this a lot at the Bash, how this was a tough match to carry that show because no one honestly believed JBL would win. And they're not going to believe he's going to win again here. But it doesn't matter because they're not carrying the show. So it's kind of fine where it's at.
Right.
No holds barred plays off the ending of the Bash. Batista's a hometown hero, gets a loud reaction. JBL attacks him during the entrance. They brawl near the stage to the open. Batista lays in some heavy shots until JBL whips him into a traveling case. Batista spears JBL to the barricade, back to ringside. JBL takes over in the ring, whips and chokes Batista with a referee's leather belt. Batista attempts a comeback. JBL ducks him and hits a clothesline from hell for 2. JBL sets up the steps, but Batista avoids them, hits a spinebuster and Batista bomb, but doesn't cover because he wants to punish. Then he hits a Batista bomb on the steps and gets the win. Very short and effective match for a title match, just under 10 minutes. And I thought it was perfectly fine. Didn't need to carry the show. You get Batista his win and pop in his hometown. JBL, laid down, took the beating, didn't really come off as a serious threat much at all. And he's pretty much cooked, I think, as a contender of any sort. He desperately needs to just go into the mid-card for a bit and do his thing there for a while. He's done as like a world title guy, big time. Were you surprised that this match was after Cena? I always thought Cena was before it, but I guess it makes sense because Batista's at home in Washington, so it was like a bigger thing. But Cena, to me, was their bigger guy. I was surprised that wasn't the next to last.
Well, Well, first off, I did enjoy the match a lot because it was short. It served its purpose, and Batista just crushed JBL on that power bomb on the stairs. I mean, kudos to JBL for like laying out and making it sound really good. Like he smacked him. So I enjoyed that ending. The only reason I'm not surprised is because I think they knew this match was going to be short. I think they knew they were going to get a big pop out, maybe a bigger pop out of Batista than they would out of Cena, simply because they were in DC, and this match was shorter. And I think they wanted to get the crowd somewhat ready for the main event, because that's where you're really going to bank all your emotion on. So no, I wasn't surprised, and I knew the match was going to be shorter and almost a glorified squash. And I agree with you 100%. JBL, love you to death, but you're done. You're cooked.
Mm-hmm.
Time for you to.
He's had a run better than anyone ever expected.
Exactly.
And
over almost a year and a half. Yeah.
So he's all set with this now. He needs to go do something else for a bit and not be in the world title mix. He's run its course big time. Between the rematches with Cena and now the feud with Batista, he needs something else to go on. But yeah, I mean, a real throwaway match, but it's one that Batista kind of needed anyway. So there's really nothing wrong with how they went about things.
Right. No, not at all. And, JBL needs to push aside. The thing for me was I was looking forward to seeing who Batista's next feud would be against. Because SmackDown was kind of, thin on contenders.
Yep.
So I was a little curious.
By the way, speaking of SmackDown, conspicuous by his absence, like just to show you how far he's fallen, Booker T, not on SummerSlam.
Who would he have feuded with? There's nobody else on the roster.
No,
anyway.
I know. I'm just saying, like a guy.
No, I know. No, I agree.
How far he's dropped.
I know.
Like,
from fighting. Yeah, from fighting Kurt over his wife's honor to pretty much nothing. Yeah, weird, right? But he gets his back in 06. But yeah, it is weird. But that just tells you, I mean, after Booker, I mean, he would have been a guy a legitimate contender for Batista, but he's kind of floating around aimlessly. It would have taken a lot to kind of reboost him, So I don't know where they were going. I was legitimately perplexed as to where SmackDown was going to go with Batista, because all the guys are on Raw. Cena probably has too many guys he could face.
Right.
Batista right now doesn't have enough guys to face.
Well, too bad they buried Christian. That's real nice.
Yeah. Well, Aaron George thinks he doesn't deserve shit anyway.
Right.
No one likes scraggly world champions. All right, so Batista successfully defends and retains his World Heavyweight Championship in a decent match, decent length for him and for JBL. All right, time for our main event, which is pretty much the match that this show was set for and was pretty much carried in terms of the build.
Oh, yeah.
And a match that really you and I spoke nothing about until now, because it didn't happen until after Vengeance. So, Legend versus Icon. Federation versus New Generation. Can't even say Attitude, per se. How'd we get here?
On 7/4, Hulk Hogan showed up on Carlito's Cabana to plug his new VH1 reality show, Hogan Knows Best. Carlito would make some inappropriate jokes at the expense of Hulk's daughter, Brooke, leading to Hogan drilling him in the face. Kurt Angle then showed up, and he too ran down Hulk and made an inappropriate reference to his daughter. Hogan smacked him as well, but Carlito came in, and he and Angle beat Hogan down until Shawn Michaels made the save. If you remember, they were tag team partners back at Backlash. It was later announced that Michaels demanded a match featuring he and Hogan against Carlito and Angle on that night's show. Michaels and Hogan picked up the win, but as they celebrated, Michaels shockingly nailed Hogan with sweet chin music and stood over the prone Hogan as the show faded out. And I remember being shocked because this was July 4th. I remember I was at work that night and watching it, and I'm like, this is such a throwaway show. They're bringing Hogan out just to maybe try and pop a number. I think I even started to walk away when the match ended and turned quickly when I heard the announcers, and oh my God, wow, they're really doing this? Is Michaels going to go heel? What's going on? And on 7/11, Roddy Piper returned. Interviewed Shawn Michaels in Piper's pit. Michaels told Hogan that he wanted to face him at SummerSlam and then drilled Piper with switching music when Piper called him a coward. Michaels stood over him as well, garnering tremendous heat from the crowd. On 7/18, Hogan returned and officially accepted Shawn's challenge. A week later, Michaels cut a scathing promo on Hogan, letting loose on his desire to win the match, and said he would not lie down for the Hulkster, and then quietly warned Vince McMahon that he should watch what he wishes for because it may come true. On 8-1, Michaels kicked things up a notch with a tremendous Hogan parody on a mock Larry King live special. His impression was tremendous, and the segment ended with Michaels super kicking the fake King. The next week, the two men had a heated face-to-face interview with built a lot of heat for the match. Michaels super kicked Jerry Lawler and hit Hogan with a low blow. Hulk fought him off and tossed him to the floor. On an 8-15 from Montreal, Shawn put the icing on the cake when he kicked off the show, and as you expect, the heat is tremendous on him, and he's eating it all up. And then he discusses the Montreal screw job, and the Bret Hart theme music fills the arena to a mega pop, and the crowd's going crazy, and then Michael shows some fear, and then starts laughing. As JR laments that it was all just a ruse, he continued to rant, and then it was cut off again, this time by Hogan's music. The crowd goes nuts, but Michaels fooled them again, laughing hysterically at how gullible they were. The promo was great and really added the final log to the hot fire that we've already had. So what do you think of the build here? And what did you think of the match, Michaels and Hogan? Was this a dream match to you before it happened? Like, before you knew what was happening, was this one on your checklist of matches like you kind of looked for? To me, I don't know. I never felt like it was a dream match. Like, it never crossed my mind. Because they never crossed paths. And, like, Michaels never felt... Their dream matches were on different levels. Like, to me, Hogan dream matches were like marquee names and big guys. And to me, Shawn dream matches were work rate based. Like,
Precisely.
They never really crossed my mind as like natural opponents because they felt like they were on different levels, not of stardom, which they are, but just of who you would prefer to see them fight. Hogan was always Rock, Austin, Goldberg, like the big guys, and Michaels was always the work rate guy. So it was not a match that really popped in my head as a potential dream match. Were you the same, or was this one you always thought would be cool?
No, I never expected. I never thought this would be true. I thought I thought to myself, this match would be awful because Hogan would never let Shawn do the things that would make a Shawn match great. So no, was I pervertedly looking forward to it? Yeah, a little bit, but I was expecting Shawn to literally have to lift.
No, but I'm beyond that. Once it's announced, it's like, okay, this will be cool. I'm talking.
Oh, before that,
I'm talking like, March of 2005. Did this match ever cross your mind on your list of like when Hogan was like teasing he may come back? Was Shawn Michaels ever a guy on your radar? Was like, oh man, that's a match they have to have?
No.
Okay, that was my question.
Nope, not at all. I thought. If Hogan's last match, I still thought Hogan's last match at that point would be with Austin. I think everybody still thought that. Because remember, there's that veiled, and I don't know if I mentioned it in the 21 review, but Vault, but there's that veiled, during the end of the Hall of Fame show when Hogan is at the podium and the one more match chant is going, and he's at the podium, he's looking at somebody and he winks and points. Something like that. He's like looking at somebody. Doesn't say who he's looking at. He winks and points. There was a lot of speculation he was staring at Austin when he did that.
Right.
So, when I thought that, I would have gone through the roof because I would have killed for that match. Hogan and Shawn, absolutely not. Two different eras, two different guys. Whatever. Never would have cared. Never cared in my head. So, because I always knew that it wouldn't be a great match. And you're right. Hogan's better with big dudes, and Shawn's better with guys that he could dance with. So, you're exactly right. I agree with you 100%. I never would have really cared if these two faced each other.
Yeah, it was just weird how they threw it out there as like this big dream match, and it was just like just never saw it as a dream match. But once it was announced and they did the build and they did it really well, they hyped it well, and I'm glad they put the effort in to make it a more than just like two really big names going at it. You know what I mean? Like they did a nice job to actually put a lot of heat behind it, and having Michaels go heel was a shock. After spending the last 3 years as a straight-laced white meat babyface, Michaels has this tremendous return to heel persona, relishes the heat he was garnering in the feud, and unfortunately, despite the success, Michaels actually preferred to stay at face. He abandoned the heel persona the night after the show, but before he gave up the snarky heel role that we all loved, he cut one more scathing promo on Hogan on Raw the next night, and this time it was based in reality. Heading into the match with Michaels, he had been promised that Hogan would return the job at a later date, And, of course, Hogan has no recollection of that conversation and just rode off into the sunset as soon as SummerSlam ended. Michaels was not very happy that there would be no rematch and let the world know. Basically said he was forced to lie down for Hogan and completely carried the match for a broken-down Hulkster. It was a tremendous work from Michaels and really left you wanting more from the original main event, the icon, superstar Shawn Michaels. But we don't get it. We get him going back face and gets in a weird feud right after.
Yes.
Do you think? I mean, it's kind of funny to see Shawn on the back end of this. Hogan still doing the same bullshit that he's always done. I'll put you over in the rematch, brother. And here we are again, just like we saw with, well, I guess Hogan's on the receiving end of it with Brock, but the Bret Hart stuff in '93. It's just funny to see Shawn in this role now, like buying into the whole nonsense that he may get a win back on Hogan, and then it just never happens. And I don't know, was it Vince McMahon playing them off each other like he did in the old days? Was it really supposed to happen, but Hogan burnt him? We'll never know. And I don't think it's even a match that needed a rematch. Like, I don't think Michaels' legacy is tarnished by losing to Hulk Hogan here. So I think Michaels was like overthinking this one, feeling like he needed to get the win. Like, I was fine. I thought the match was really good. Like we'll talk about. I'm fine with it not happening again. Where did you stand on that?
I got a lot of thoughts on this. I'm a little surprised that Shawn was kind of flim-flammed into thinking that. I mean, Shawn's a smarter guy than that. I mean, did he really think Hogan was going to be like, sure, brother, I'll give it back to you, please? I mean, God, Hogan begged and pleaded to make sure he got his back against frickin' Warrior in that dumpster fire at Halloween Havoc '98. But him giving it back, please. We've all danced this dance before. So I'm a little surprised that Shawn was actually that stupid to actually think he was going to get it back anyway. But here's the interesting thing about the build. Shawn actually was going to do Hogan a favor if it was going to be face versus face. And, Shawn, Hulkster, I need to know. You were the icon of the legend of the Federation era, and I was the guy of the 90s. I carried this company when we were in the toilet, and you kind of rode the coattails of the big, kind of thing.
Right.
Let's just go one-on-one and see what happens. And Hogan should have liked that because he can protect himself, and it would have been a fun match. Instead, they go to him, and the creative goes to Shawn and say, "Well, no, he wants face heel, so can you kind of go back to your '97 persona?" And Shawn's like, "Are you sure? I was going to be." This was going to be like a nice, white, meaty baby face. You want me to be 97 Shawn? I will be. And Terry ain't going to like it.
Right.
All right? I'm going to make fun of his fact that he can't, fucking wrestle a lick. I'm going to make fun of the fact he's bald. I'm going to make fun of a lot of things. And I'm going to be mean about it. So I don't want to hear him whining that I'm picking on him. So honestly, Shawn was actually trying to do the right thing and be like, look, let's just have two legends, both just wrestle a clean, fun match, and I don't care who wins. But instead, Hogan wanted to go old school and be the hero against the vanquished villain. And Shawn's like, well, I'm going to treat him like garbage because I'm just better at it. And when he said things like, Hogan, in this ring, you can't touch me.
Right.
Sad thing is, it's the truth.
Right, he meant it.
And he meant it,
And it's good. I think it added to the feud. Like, I'm glad they did it this way.
Right.
Whatever. Like, I'm glad we didn't just get, handshake, legend. Like, this was good.
Oh, no, I agree with you. And it worked for us as fans. My point is, Shawn was actually trying to do the right thing. Like, look, I don't want to make fun of him. I don't want to make fun of the fact that he's a no-talent hack with a spray tan and no hair. I don't want to do it. But you're asking me to, so I'm going to do it.
Yes.
What?
I said no tongue and a googus.
Yes. So, that was my whole point on the build. It was just one of those interesting things that happened. So, but now the match.
Yeah, here we are.
Here we are.
Big pop for Hogan, of course. His first SummerSlam match since
Match Made in Hell.
1991. Yes.
Yeah, Match Made in Hell. Yep.
Never crossed the SummerSlam path since then.
Nope.
Hogan overpowers, shoves Shawn down to some big pops. Michael starts his overselling, takes a wild bump to the floor on a shoulder block. Wild pinballing as Hogan kicks him in the gut while he's laying across the top rope. Michaels goes to the eyes, but Hogan fights through it and bounces him back to the floor again. Michaels grabs control back in the ring, lands some chops, and tries to wear down Hogan. Hogan keeps punching back, knocks Michaels to the floor, and then runs him into the barricade. Michaels shoves Hogan to the post to rattle him and takes away control finally. He does it a second time and then starts to pick apart and maul Hogan. Hogan gets bloodied from the post. Michaels locks in a sleeper, and Hogan's just gushing blood everywhere. I forgot how bloody this match was.
Yeah, it was pretty bloody, yeah.
Hogan breaks out back suplex. Michaels hits a flying forearm, and the crowd is fully behind Hogan here, not behind Shawn at all. Shawn misses a top rope elbow. Hogan punches his way back as the crowd is fired up. Hogan hits another forearm. Shawn hits another forearm, bumps the ref. Michaels locks in the sharpshooter to get his Montreal dig in as always, but Hogan gets to the ropes. Second referee comes out. He gets bumped. Michaels lands a low blow, grabs a chair, and cracks Hogan on top of his head. That was a nice shot, too. Michaels hits a big elbow, and the crowd is pissed as Michaels hits Sweet Chin Music, but Hogan kicks out and hulks up to just a monster pop. And this is where things get silly. Michael starts overacting again. Hogan makes his comeback, hits a big boot, and then we get this ridiculous selling by Shawn from the big boot where he swaps all around like one of the fucking Three Stooges. Hogan, yeah, right. Hogan dances for a while, plays to the crowd as Michaels just lays dead in the ring, and this, to me, it ruined the end of the match. This is awful. It's like Hogan's gotten his ass kicked, he's bloodied, hits a big boot, and then he prances around celebrating for like 30 seconds while Shawn's laying there from a fucking big boot dead. Hogan hits the leg, gets the win. And I thought the middle of the match was great. The bumping in the beginning and the dump finish that happened so fast and left Michaels for dead after dealing out all that offense, kind of ruined things for me a bit. It lived up to the billing. It was worthy of carrying the show. It turned from a fun exhibition to a heated, overbooked bloodbath. And I thought it was fine, but it kind of changed the spirit of the match quickly. Mm-hmm. It changed from legend versus icon to a bloodbath. Out of nowhere, this gory fight that you just did not expect. Michaels proved he could still carry, and Hogan did his part as well. We get a handshake at the end to close things out. What were your feelings on the beginning and end of the match and in the middle of it? Did the bookends screw it up in your mind? Did it hurt things? Did it? I hate that finish. I hate how he lays there. I mean, everyone talks about the Booker T Triple H thing from 19. This is 100 times worse. Michael's butt is killing him. He's bloodied. He hits a big boot, and then Michael lays there for 20 seconds while Hogan's walking around, pointing to the crowd, slapping his arms together. Do that shit after the match. Why did you have to do it there? It was
slapping
stupid.
His arms together.
Well, he was. He's doing the clap thing, and it was just so stupid. It was just I hated it. And Michael's selling was absurd too. I know he was doing it to be an asshole and show off a bit. But the selling on the big boot is ridiculous, flopping at its best. And I don't know. The beginning has that in it. In the end, the middle doesn't have as much as I thought. Whenever everyone talks about this match, they always talk about how Michaels oversells and bumps the whole time. But he really didn't. It's just the beginning and end. I thought the middle was a pretty good fucking bloodbath with heated, bloody match.
Right.
But the ending is just a goof.
Yeah. I think the problem with that is, and what makes it even worse than 19 is, at least Triple H had a pedigree, a legit good finisher. Fucking one of the greatest workers in the history of the business had to sell a boot to the face for
He made the Kane thing from Bad Blood look good. Remember we always bitch about that when he hit the tombstone and it sucked, and then Taker's out for 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to say Shawn ruined the match, but I agree with you that the blood and everything kind of devalued what the match was supposed to be. I mean, I understand that the match was probably supposed to be an exhibition of who the best is, and it ended up being almost like a world title match main event kind of thing.
Right.
It changed. The tone changed. That's a good point. I never thought of that.
And I liked the direction it took. I'm glad they went that way, because if it was going to be what it was in the beginning, was a goofy exhibition match where Michael's dancing around like a clown, that would have sucked. Right. I thought the middle of the match is what made it so surprisingly good. It's wow, I did not expect this at all from Hogan and Michaels. I didn't expect Hogan to get beaten bloody by Shawn Michaels, and because Shawn's been the guy who's been bloody for the last 3 years. So to see him as the heel busting open Hogan, and it's just I just wish we didn't get the nonsense. I wish Michaels didn't oversell the boot, and that Hogan didn't take 20 minutes to pin him. Just hit the fucking leg drop and get out. You know what I mean? Then celebrate. Don't do this horse shit. And if I'm Shawn, that's what pisses me off more than anything. That I just beat your ass for 20 minutes. You hit the big boot, and then I lay here like a dope while you dance around. That whole part would have annoyed me. And the fact that it goes 20 minutes is good too. It definitely paid off the SummerSlam main event status. It felt like a big time match. It felt like a WrestleMania level match.
Right. It did. I was a little stunned about the blood, and I think we all knew Hogan was going to win this match. So the the drama over the result wasn't there. But I think the fact that Shawn must have known something. So he obviously knew before. We were talking earlier about how he cut the scathing promo on Raw. So he obviously knew before this match that he wasn't getting his rematch. So he wanted to douche the whole thing. I think Shawn could have probably avoided that. I mean, I know he was trying to have fun, but I thought the new Shawn wouldn't think that way. So I don't know. I think
they got all caught up. I think he got in his own head a bit. Like the politics came right back. You know, and I'm sure there's some insecurity there. Like Michaels, like you said, the guy who was on top when it was tanking, and Hulk Hogan is Hulk Hogan. You know, so I'm sure he felt a little bit of insecurity in the match itself, and the feud itself, knowing deep down that he's second fiddle in this feud, and that now he's going to lose to really.
Even though he carried it,
right?
But
he
carried it, you know.
Right. So I'm sure he was bitter.
Yep.
You know, I'm doing all the work. I'm getting this thing over. I'm busting my ass. I'm carrying the show for you. You know, to help you get you over, and I don't even win, and you're going to job me out with 2 moves after I kick your ass the whole match. Like you said, it was Hogan versus the Angry Giant all over again.
Yep. So, Hogan wins,
and then he decides to trollop it up after he gets kicked in the face. You know, the boot and flop it all around like Mo. Where am I going? Like Gibberish show all over again. Yeah.
Oh God! When was the last time you played? Oh, No Way Out 02 with Austin and
That's what it was. Yeah, we're right back to it. Right back to it. Oh, that was like Three Idiots. That was like Benny Hill more than anything. No Way Out.
Kevin Nash hitting Scott Hall on the top of the head like the little bald guy. Oh God, how absurd! Does it ruin the show for you?
No, not even close. I mean, no.
Okay.
And the match was really good, and the show was really good. It's a worthy star power driven SummerSlam. Up and down the card, mega stars, especially in retrospect when you look at like what Edge became and what Batista became and what Cena became and what Orton became. Like when you look at it in retrospect, it's a loaded card. I mean, just top to bottom stacked. And it almost makes you wonder. And I thought 05 they did a nice job, as we'll see, rebuilding the heat between the brands. But if there was ever a time that they could have really loaded the roster up by going co-brand again, this is it. Like, these Jack shows with the both brands have been really good. Mania, Vengeance, and now this, where they have pretty much everyone on the roster. When you look up and down it, it's like, wow. I mean, I guess maybe it makes sense then to have why they would want to do the brand split, because other guys may never get a shot. Like, where does Chris Masters or Carlito or these other guys even sniff a chance? I mean, right. Booker can't even get into this grouping. I mean, they could have ran 15 pay-per-views with this group of guys alone. Just mix them and match them. Like, that's how... that's how good it is. That's how hot this is. So, it's a star power show, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good.
I did too.
I'm not sure. Yeah, it's probably up there for best SummerSlam ever. I mean, maybe.
You think so?
Well, I don't think it's best ever. It's in the like outside conversation. I would say it's easily inside the top 10. I don't know.
Maybe top 5.
Yeah, I'd have to look back at our Brad and Chad ranks and everything to see where we had it, but I think. The ones that are always up there at 13, 98, 02, and those top 3. So it's probably in that next batch. Yeah, 01, 91. It's probably right after that. It's probably in that next 5,
89. Yeah. No, it's definitely in that bunch. Probably 6 to 10. Yeah, I agree with you on that. So there it is, SummerSlam 2005. Good show. Check it out if you haven't watched it. It's, of course, on the WWE Network for only $10.08. And there we go. There is our first Place to Be podcast, first mothership spin of 2016.
Yep, I enjoyed it. It was
good show.
Fun show to watch. And this whole year has really opened my eyes, and I think we'll see it continue into the fall. I thought 05 always mirrored closely with 04 as far as like depleted,
stinker secondary shows. Yeah.
Right. And no, here we are. We're not depleted. It's been pretty good shows up and down, and the big shows have delivered. The Rumble was really good. Mania was really good. This has been really good. So, I've enjoyed the trip through 05. I'm curious to see how we finish out and head towards a year that's very maligned in 06. not remembered well at all. So we'll see how quickly things turn. But all right, so we'll be back in 2 weeks, our annual Martin Luther King Day special episode.
That's right.
We'll be back with that. We'll be visiting Unforgiven, Oklahoma City for the first time. So that'll be fun.
Yep. New building, new everything. Yep.
So the return of Main Event this week, Scott, right?
Yes. The year in review 2015. I will not reveal who my guests are. They're pretty awesome. But yes, after the hiatus, schedules now kind of level out a little bit. So we're past the hectic fall, both in podcast and personal lives. So Main Event will return this Wednesday night. So
very good.
Looking forward to it.
Sports Evolution should return this week as well.
Yep.
Then all your others, Dangerous Alliance will be back this week. Not that they've been gone, but it'll be up. A new episode this week coming Wednesday night. Yep. Kevin Kelly will be back Monday for episode number 50 for him. And he'll talk about his trip to Japan. He's there right now. They'll be kicking off Wrestle Kingdom very shortly. I think it's 3 a.m. Eastern Time or 2:30 a.m. Eastern Time.
I think there's a pre at 2:30. I think the show proper starts at 3.
Yeah, so there you go. He'll be calling that show. So congrats to Kevin. Wish you best of luck. Hope you do a great job.
Hope he's having fun. Yeah.
And we'll talk to him on Monday as well. So until then, that's Scott. I'm Justin. We're out. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. Hey, Curly, come here. I'm going to show you this big boo.
Hey, Hulk Hogan is Shemp, except without the hair.
I don't know who Shemp was.
Shemp.
What's the story of him?
He replaced, Curly left the show, and that was the guy that they replaced. I don't know the story behind him, but he was the guy that replaced Curly, and Curly left. Okay. Why couldn't they find another Curly?
I don't know. I thought there was more to it. He just left. Why would you leave the Three Stooges? That's a weird decision.
I know, that is a weird decision.
What was he going to go do? Like, going with the wind? I mean, what the hell? Fucking Curly. Odd decisions.
Curly and Citizen Kane.
I don't know who Curly's agent is, but I think he did.
Similar to Mike Jones, say my name enough, then I'm taking you home. You know I walk without talk, without sleep with the chrome, one squeeze and you're gone. What I look like, not taking at least 3 to 6 women out the club with me. Now we back to the pad, call it the pad, cause all these come with me. Talk to them dirty. 2 up in the morning, girl, and the DJ playing that song. Now what you gonna do? What you gonna do? Well, it's 2 up in the morning, and them niggas out hitting your crew. What you gonna do?
I'ma get.
Yeah, what you gonna do?
I'ma get.
Now when them doors swing open with that awkward motion, what you call it? Suicide, it's a suicide. And if the niggas talk cause they drunk off that potion, they committing suicide, it's a suicide. Let's get it poppin', man. Yo, I got a shotty, man. Oh, Lord. I feel sorry for your mother, give a you say. Spin your head back, promote you on a videotape.
2 up in the morning, girl, and the DJ playing that song. Now what you gonna do? What you gonna do? It's 4 up in the morning now, and I'm trying to go home with you, girl. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Come on.
Yeah. It's correct.
What you gonna do?
Cafe Moderanos, all my people in there partying. All the party people across the world. Ladies. Things of that nature.